Chapter 50-26. Master, the scouts have reported that East King has secretly left the military camp. We don't know where he went. In a hall in the palace of the Nanman royal capital, Xiao Ya reported to Ji Yufei, who was sitting on the throne. At this time, only Ji Yufei and Xiao Ya were in the hall. Now, only Xiao Ya knew that Ji Yufei had come out of seclusion. Everyone else thought that Ji Yufei was still in seclusion. He went to ask for reinforcements. Ji Yufei said disapprovingly. East King's million-strong army was blocked outside the Sky Scorpion Mountain by ancestor Tian Hong's Sky Scorpion array. All the forces in Nanman were attracted to East King. In the area where Flying Tiger City and Black Wolf City were located, the battle between Fierce Tiger King and Wu Jiao broke out. Fierce Tiger King fell into the trap and attacked Wu Jiao first. This gave Wu Jiao an excuse to fight back. Fierce Tiger King and Wu Jiao fought for a while, and both sides suffered casualties. At this time, in the area between Flying Tiger City and Black Wolf City, weapons and corpses were scattered everywhere. There were traces of battle everywhere, and the air was filled with a nauseating smell of blood. In the sky, countless ferocious birds were circling. From time to time, ferocious birds swooped down from the sky. When they flew back up, these ferocious birds had a big piece of meat in their mouths. To these ferocious birds, the battlefield was a feast. The smell of blood attracted countless ferocious birds. At this time, Fierce Tiger King and Wu Jiao had already withdrawn their troops and returned to their respective cities. However, this battle did not end because of this. How could the sorcerer tribe let go of an excuse to send troops so easily? Wu Jiao, this bastard. How dare he scheme against me? Night fell. In the Flying Tiger City's City Lord residence, Fierce Tiger King was so angry that he smashed the table in front of him. The dishes on the table fell to the ground. Your Majesty, what should we do now? All the generals present were taken aback. What else can we do? I will fight to the death with Wu Jiao this time. The Fierce Tiger King was enraged. He was about to go crazy. All the warriors were speechless. At this time, Xiao Ya told Ji Yufei about the sorcerer tribe's movements. It seems like the lesson that the sorcerer tribe has received is not enough, Ji Yufei said calmly. However, it was only Shaman Ying who had died. He had not truly hurt the sorcerer tribe. It seemed that he could no longer be merciful to the sorcerer tribe. Last time, it was for the sake of the Shaman Emperor and the Heaven Shaman priest. Li Kuang only killed Wu Ying and then asked everyone in the Shaman tribe to get out of the southern barbarian royal capital. To the sorcerer tribe, this kind of punishment was nothing. Master, the sorcerer tribe has gone too far. What do you think? Xiao Ya's childish face was filled with murderous intent. She was not a little girl, but the reincarnation of a powerful god. Now, her memory had almost recovered. You've lived 2 lives. Yet you're still so impatient. Ji Yufei shook his head and let out a sigh. Xiao Ya was speechless and didn't dare to speak anymore. She stood obediently at the side. It turned out that Master just wanted to watch the show. Let them jump around first. Ji Yufei pondered for a while before saying. He also wanted to know who gave East King and the sorcerer tribe the courage to provoke him. At this time, in the Middle Sky, the territory of the battle sect, all the disciples of the battle sect were in action. They were searching for 3 people. The first was Man Yu, the second was Mu Tianfeng, and the third was Mr. Autumn Water. The portraits of these 3 people were all over the streets and alleys of the countless cities under the control of the battle sect. The battle sect offered a sky-high reward. Anyone who could provide information about these 3 people would be rewarded handsomely. Countless people who wanted to achieve meteoric success were all incomparably excited. One must know that the reward offered by the battle sect was really incomparably enviable. The unusual actions of the battle sect surprised the other forces in the Middle Sky. However, everyone knew that the battle sect would not put out a bounty for these 3 people for no reason. There must be some inside information that they didn't know. Hence, all the major forces in the Middle Sky sent their spies into the territory of the battle sect. Very soon, all the major forces in the Middle Sky knew why the battle sect wanted to kill these 3 people. These three people were actually the remnants of the barbarian emperor. The identity of the most wanted criminal of the battle sect was even more shocking. That person was actually the only remaining son of the barbarian emperor, Man Yu. This guy actually didn't die and even escaped to the middle sky. What did this guy want to do in the middle sky? Man Yu was Ji Yu Fei's enemy. The battle between Ji Yu Fei and the Ling Tian Palace Master had shocked the world. How could the major forces in the middle sky not know of Ji Yu Fei's name? This Man Yu was now a street rat that everyone wanted to kill. All the major forces in the middle sky finally understood why the battle sect wanted to put out a bounty for Man Yu and the other two people. One must know that Ji Yu Fei was an amazing person who could go against the Ling Tian Palace Master. If they captured Man Yu and sent him to Ji Yu Fei, there would be a lot of benefit. No one was willing to miss this good opportunity to make friends with Ji Yu Fei. Therefore, all the major forces in the middle sky had the thought of capturing Man Yu alive. In this way, Man Yu and the others would find it difficult to move an inch in the middle sky. Of course, those major figures in the middle sky guessed wrongly this time. The reason why Wang Dozhan wanted to capture Man Yu wasn't because he wanted to make friends with Ji Yu Fei, but because of Long Xiaoju. Long Xiaoju personally asked Wang Dozhan to capture Man Yu, so how could Wang Dozhan dare to say no? One must know that the West Sea Old Dragon Emperor was Wang Dozhan's master. This junior sister was the apple of the West Sea Old Dragon Emperor's eye. At this time, in a deep mountain forest, Mr. Choshure and the battle sect's vice-sect master Lei Ao were still fighting. They fought as they moved, destroying everything in their path. This was a battle between half-step emperors. Long Xiaoju and her shadow were still chasing after Mu Tianfeng and Man Yu. However, Mu Tianfeng was very cunning. He left very few traces along the way. If it wasn't for her shadow being proficient in tracking techniques, Mu Tianfeng and Man Yu would have long escaped without a trace. However, Long Xiaoju and the others still didn't see Mu Tianfeng and Man Yu's shadow. These two fellows are too cunning. Long Xiaoju was filled with hatred. Actually, Ji Yu Fei didn't put these clowns in his eyes. He even dared to kill the Ling Tian Palace Master without hesitation, let alone the others. In the entire Void Realm, the only person who could truly threaten Ji Yu Fei was the Ling Tian Palace Master. In the Sky Meteor Mountain, Xu Qingyun, Dong Wang and the others finally saw the mysterious person in the depths of the valley. When they saw this person, they were dumbfounded. This person was like a dried corpse, sitting in a pavilion. His emaciated appearance made people's hearts palpitate. He was already extremely weak, as though he could stop breathing at any time. You are the myriad transformations ancestor. Chapter 50-27. Who would become the true overlord of Nanman in the end? The three major forces were competing for hegemony in Nanman. War broke out again. While Ji Yu Fei was in seclusion, East King personally led 1,000,000 troops to attack Nanman capital. Who gave East King the courage to do so? Wu Jiao, the Witch King of the Sorcerer tribe, also fought with Fierce Tiger King. The area between Flying Tiger City and Black Wolf City became a battlefield. Battles of all sizes kept erupting, and both sides suffered heavy casualties. North Garrison King couldn't sit still any longer. He led his elite troops to attack the eastern region. However, North Garrison King's territory was in the north of Nanman. North Garrison King's army wouldn't be able to reach the eastern region anytime soon. Yet, Patriarch Tian Hong's performance was beyond everyone's expectations. He had used the Sky Scorpion mountain range as a natural stronghold to set up a killing array and block East King's 1,000,000 troops. The power of the array Dao shocked everyone once again. At this time, Ji Yu Fei couldn't be bothered with any of this. These clowns weren't qualified for him to deal with them personally. There weren't many people in the entire Void Realm who were worthy of him dealing with them personally. However, East King and Witch King Wu Jiao were all trash in his eyes. At this time, East King brought Mu Gaofeng to Sky Meteor Mountain under the guidance of military advisor Xu Qingyun. They entered a sealed area in the back mountain. No one knew that the back mountain of the Heavenly Meteor Mountain in the middle of nowhere actually hid a fairyland-like paradise. In the depths of this valley, there lived an existence with a great background. It was the legendary Myriad Transformation Patriarch, an expert of the Array Dao 10,000 years ago. Back then, Myriad Transformation Patriarch and Tian Hong, the Array Dao Patriarch of the Towering Heaven Palace, were known as the Array Dao Duo. They were publicly recognized as the two strongest existences in the Array Dao. However, when East King and the others saw the legendary person in a pavilion deep in the valley, they were dumbfounded. This legendary person was actually an old man who was so skinny that he was only skin and bones, sitting on a rattan chair. The old man's eyes were lifeless, and his breathing was weak. He seemed to be dying. "Why? Are you disappointed?" That old voice rang out as the old man looked at Dong Wang and the rest mockingly. Old Senior, Shu Qingyun, in particular, was already mentally prepared, but when he saw the state the old man was in, his eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. His meridians are all broken, and he's poisoned. It's already good that he's not dead. The old man on the rattan chair said indifferently. "Shu Junjun, you actually brought us to find a cripple?" When Mu Gaofeng heard this, he immediately collapsed, his face full of displeasure. So what if this guy was the legendary Myriad Transformation's ancestor? His meridians were all broken, and he seemed to have been poisoned. Such a cripple could not be more crippled. What was the use of finding such a useless person? "Who are you calling a cripple?" The old man suddenly raised his eyes and glared at Mu Gaofeng. 2 rays of cold light shot out of his eyes towards Mu Gaofeng. It wasn't a gaze, it was just a look. However, Mu Gaofeng felt like his guts were about to explode from the elder's glare. He was quite frightened. Mu Gaofeng was shocked to the extreme. He was actually scared by a look from this trash. Only then did he realize that his clothes were drenched in cold sweat. Even Dong Wang's heart trembled. This guy wasn't simple. Even if he was really crippled, he was still incredible. "Ha, old senior, my friend misspoke. I apologize on his behalf." Shu Qingyun smiled and cupped his hands in greeting. "Scram. This little guy actually dared to call me trash. Kowtow and apologize, or else I'll kill you." The old man roared with a sinister expression. "TCH, a piece of trash like you can still kill me?" Mu Gaofeng mocked. He was a dignified peak divine king expert, but he was actually scared by a look from a cripple. This made him extremely unhappy. Preposterous. The old man flew into a rage. In the next moment, the entire valley suddenly darkened. Streaks of glaring lightning that made people's hearts palpitate suddenly appeared in the sky above the valley. The sky had been clear a moment ago, but in the next moment, it was covered in dark clouds. This was clearly the old man's doing. Formation. At this moment, Dong Wang suddenly woke up. If this old man really was the legendary Myriad Transformation's ancestor, then this valley definitely had an incomparably powerful formation. No wonder this guy was still so strong even though he was crippled. Before Mu Gaofeng could react, he was struck by a bolt of lightning that descended from the sky. His hair became like a broom, his face was charred black, and his body was emitting black smoke. He was completely dumbfounded. Dong Wang and Shu Qingyun, who were at the side, were shocked. "In my eyes, you guys are the trash. Otherwise, why are you guys looking for me?" The old man swept a cold glance at Dong Wang and the others with a look of disdain. Hearing the old man's words, Dong Wang and Shu Qingyun were displeased. However, when Dong Wang thought about how he could break old ancestor Sky Rainbow's formation if he could get this fellow to help him, Dong Wang suppressed his anger. "Old senior, don't you want the fruit of immortality?" Shu Qingyun still had a calm expression. "After killing you guys, the fruit of immortality will still be mine." The old man sneered. He was determined to eat these guys up. Because these guys were in his valley, in his territory. If he wanted them to live, they could live. If he wanted them dead, they wouldn't be able to live. "Haha, what if we destroy the fruit of immortality?" Dong Wang, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said. "You guys dare?" The old man immediately glared at Dong Wang. "Why wouldn't we dare?" Dong Wang looked at the old man coldly. The two of them glared at each other. After a while, the old man suddenly laughed. He laughed so happily that tears came out of his eyes. "Very good. You have the look of a hero. You must be the master of these two trash. The old man stopped smiling and stared at Dong Wang with a serious expression. No matter how good Shu Qingyun and Mu Gaofeng's temperament was, they were still angry after being called trash. Dong Wang stood with his hands behind his back and didn't say anything. Hand over the fruit of immortality. I can do one thing for you guys. The old man suddenly grinned and said such words. Two things. Dong Wang said indifferently. Don't push your luck. The old man stopped smiling and said coldly. Since we can't come to an agreement, let's not talk anymore. Dong Wang's face was cold. The old man suddenly straightened his body and stared at Dong Wang. At this time, Mu Gaofeng and Shu Qingyun stared nervously at the old man sitting on the rattan chair. Cold sweat seeped out of their foreheads, and their palms were sweaty. Especially Shu Qingyun, who knew the old man's background. In the old man's territory, no one could stay calm. You have guts. Tell me, what do you want me to do for you? The old man sighed and lay back on the rattan chair. Mu Gaofeng and Shu Qingyun were overjoyed when they heard this. They also heaved a sigh of relief. Chapter 50-28. On Heavenly Meteor Mountain, Myriad Transformation Ancestor agreed to Dong Wang's conditions and promised to do two things for him in exchange for the immortal fruit. Tell me, what's the first thing? In a pavilion deep in the valley, Myriad Transformation Ancestor looked at Dong Wang indifferently. The first thing is to submit to me. Dong Wang's eyes shot out two sharp rays of light, directly towards Myriad Transformation Ancestor. However, Myriad Transformation Ancestor ignored Dong Wang's gaze. It was really child's play. When he was dominating the world, these guys were still playing in the mud. Who did he want to scare with a mere gaze? You want me to submit to you? Myriad Transformation Ancestor's eyes also shot out a sharp gaze, and an incomparably domineering power erupted from his body. Mu Gaofeng and Shu Qingyun, who had just heaved a sigh of relief, immediately felt as if a divine mountain was pressing down on them. Although this Myriad Transformation Ancestor was crippled, his power was still there. What, can't I? Dong Wang was very domineering. No, you don't have the qualifications to make me submit to you. Myriad Transformation Ancestor said coldly. What if I insist? Dong Wang's tone was extremely firm. Then we'll go our separate ways. Myriad Transformation Ancestor stared at Dong Wang, not giving in at all. Who was he? He was the overlord of a generation 10,000 years ago. What ability did this guy have to actually want him to submit to him? This was simply a dream. He could not possibly agree. Just like that, the two of them were in a deadlock. Lord, Shu Qingyun tugged at Dong Wang's clothes. Dong Wang actually wanted an old antique like Myriad Transformation Ancestor to submit to him. How could this be possible? How could such a person submit to others? All right, I want to be the master of South China. Can you do it? Dong Wang gritted his teeth and no longer persisted, because he was also very clear that it was basically impossible to make Myriad Transformation Ancestor submit. Deal. Myriad Transformation Ancestor nodded. The second thing, Myriad Transformation Ancestor asked. Wait until I think of it. Dong Wang stood with his hands behind his back and said indifferently. All right, hand over the immortal fruit. Myriad Transformation Ancestor directly reached out to Dong Wang. Without hesitation, Dong Wang took out the immortal fruit sealed in a jade box and threw it to Myriad Transformation's Patriarch. Myriad Transformation's Ancestor took the immortal fruit and swallowed it in one gulp. Haha, I'm leaving the mountain. The Myriad Transformation's Patriarch threw his head back and laughed. His voice grew louder and louder until the entire valley rumbled, causing Dong Wang and the rest's ears to ring. However, the changes in the Myriad Transformation's Ancestor's body caused Dong Wang and the others' eyes to almost fall out of their sockets. The Myriad Transformation's Ancestor, who looked like a bag of bones, swelled up like a ball. The appearance of the Myriad Transformation's Ancestor was rapidly changing. His entire being was transforming towards his peak state, and a powerful wave of energy was recovering from his body. The founder of the Myriad Immortal Transformations sect was indeed powerful. It was just an immortal fruit, but it was enough to revive him, who was extremely weak. Moreover, a layer of black substance seeped out of the Myriad Transformations Ancestor's body. This black substance gave off a strong stench. Mu Gaofeng and Shu Qingyun covered their noses and ran out of the pavilion. In the end, even Dong Wang couldn't help but walk out of the pavilion. It couldn't be helped, it was just too smelly. After a few hours, a divine light rushed out of the Sky Meteor Mountain and instantly disappeared into the void. What is that? Could it be that a divine treasure has appeared on the Sky Meteor Mountain? On a short mountain outside the Sky Meteor Mountain, two cultivators happened to see the divine light that disappeared in the blink of an eye. They were extremely excited. It should be known that the Sky Meteor Mountain was where the myriad immortal transformations sect used to be. Over the past thousands of years, divine treasures had been revived on the Sky Meteor Mountain from time to time, and many people had obtained the divine treasures of the Sky Meteor Mountain. The fact that there were divine treasures on the Sky Meteor Mountain was not a secret. However, over the past tens of thousands of years, countless people had turned the entire Sky Meteor Mountain upside down, but no one had found the place where the myriad immortal transformations sect had hidden its treasures. Actually, no one knew that all of this was the doing of the myriad transformations sect. The so-called divine treasures of the Sky Meteor Mountain were also released by the myriad transformations sect. He would release one or two divine treasures every once in a while to attract people to the Sky Meteor Mountain. The purpose of doing so was very simple, which was to lure these people into the valley and then capture them. The myriad transformations sect had poisoned these people and made them search for the immortality fruit for him. However, tens of thousands of years had passed, and no one could find the immortality fruit for him. And most of the people who were controlled by him were also dead. He had waited for tens of thousands of years and had been trapped in the valley for such a long time. He was about to go crazy. In fact, if the East King had persisted a little longer, perhaps he would have bowed down. In the end, the older the wiser. At this time, in the Sky Scorpion mountain range in the southern barbaric eastern region, murderous aura soared to the sky. The myriad transformations sect master was confronting the East King's million-strong army. He blocked the East King's million-strong army with his own strength, shocking the world. And in another region, the fierce Tiger King and the Shaman King were fighting, but after a series of battles, both sides suffered heavy losses. The current situation was very bad for the fierce Tiger King because the armies of the other Shaman Kings had also appeared near the Flying Tiger City. It was naturally not a good thing that the armies of the other Shaman Kings had appeared near the Flying Tiger City. Among the 19 southern barbaric vassal kings, although 11 of them had sided with Ji Yufei, the only ones who were willing to contribute were the fierce Tiger King and the North Garrison King. The other vassal kings were fence-sitters and were watching. These vassal kings would not easily send troops to help the fierce Tiger King. The vassal king closest to the fierce Tiger King was the Elephant King. The Elephant King's territory was less than 300 miles away from the Flying Tiger City. If he was willing to send troops, the Shaman King Wu Jiao would have long been defeated. In fact, the military strength of the witch race could not compete with the military strength of the 11 great vassal kings. But now, the Shaman Emperor had come out of seclusion, and Ji Yufei was in seclusion. Who would dare to offend the witch race? What should I do? In the main hall of the Flying Tiger City, the fierce Tiger King was having a headache. Once the other Shaman Kings brought troops over with murderous intent, he would definitely not be able to withstand it. He and Wu Jiao had only fought to a draw. If any Shaman King joined forces with Wu Jiao, he, the fierce Tiger King, would definitely lose. Your Majesty, I think we should prepare for the worst. The fierce Tiger King's military advisor said. That's right. The others in the main hall could not help but nod. This was the safest way. Even if they could not defend the Flying Tiger City, they could still retreat calmly. If the fierce Tiger King was captured by Wu Jiao and the others, it would be a great humiliation. After the North Garrison King judged the current situation, he decisively led his army to attack the Flying Tiger City. He could not just watch the fierce Tiger King be defeated by Wu Jiao. This North Garrison King is not bad. Ji Yufei, who had been watching the show from the southern barbaric royal capital, could not help but nod in approval of the North Garrison King's decision after hearing Xiao Huai's report. This North Garrison King was quite capable in the field of military warfare. Chapter 50-29. The war in Nanman started again. East King's million-strong army headed west and charged straight to the Sky Scorpion Mountains. However, they were stopped by the killing formation set up by Patriarch Tian Hong. As for Wu Jiao of the Sorcerer tribe, he used a crafty plot to lure the fierce Tiger King into attacking him. Wu Jiao and the fierce Tiger King fought fiercely, and both sides suffered heavy casualties. However, the current situation was very unfavorable for Ji Yufei's faction. No one knew that Ji Yufei had already come out of seclusion. Therefore, both the East King and the Sorcerer tribe were somewhat unrestrained. The Sorcerer race had the backing of the Sorcerer Sovereign, while the East King had the backing of the Ling Tian Palace. Hence, they had the confidence to compete with Ji Yufei. The Shaman Emperor had been in seclusion for so long, and no one knew what level his cultivation had reached. Because after the Shaman Emperor came out from his seclusion, he very rarely showed himself, and he didn't fight with anyone. Hence, the Shaman Emperor's strength was a mystery. Even those Shaman Kings didn't know exactly what level the Shaman Emperor's strength had reached. The East King had an inextricable relationship with the Ling Tian Palace. With the Ling Tian Palace supporting him, the East King was even more confident than the Sorcerer tribe. At that moment, the North Conqueror King led his army and charged toward Flying Tiger City. The North Vanquishing King's movement immediately attracted the attention of all the experts in southern wilderness. The Sorcerer tribe seemed to be mobilizing their troops as well. The Sorcerer tribe's army appeared less than 50 miles north of Flying Tiger City. The Witch King, Wu Fang, did not approve of provoking Ji Yufei. However, at this point in time, they had already provoked him. The 5 parties could only gather their troops and set up camp in the north of Flying Tiger City. However, Wu Fang did not attack Flying Tiger City immediately, which made Wu Jiao very unhappy. This was a great opportunity to eliminate the fierce Tiger King. What was Wu Fang waiting for? Could it be that he was waiting for the Northern Garrison King to arrive and join forces with the fierce Tiger King? At that time, it would be difficult for them to kill the fierce Tiger King and the North Garrison King. Wu Fang, what do you mean? Wu Jiao barged into Wu Fang's camp and rushed into his tent, shouting at Wu Fang. Impudent! This is my territory, yet you're barging around here. You're simply not putting me in your eyes. Wu Fang pointed at Wu Jiao and cursed. You! I didn't come here to quarrel with you. I've sent people here many times to ask you to send troops. Why are you still not moving? Wu Jiao shouted. Do you think I'll do it just because you tell me to? Who do you think you are? Wu Fang said coldly. What do you mean by this? If you and I join forces, annihilating the ferocious Tiger King is as easy as flipping our hands. What exactly are you worried about? Wu Jiao clenched his teeth and said. He was really angry. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and Wu Fang actually ignored it. What was he thinking? Don't you know what I'm worried about? Wu Fang asked. You. I'll say it again. Are you going to send troops or not? Wu Jiao stared fiercely at Wu Fang and said. If you want me to send out my troops, that's fine too. But only if you bring me the Wizard Emperor's personal decree, or the Great Wizard King's token of authority, will I send out my troops. Wu Fang looked at Wu Jiao indifferently. You win. Wu Jiao stared at Wu Fang for a while before he roared angrily and turned to leave. If Wu Fang wasn't willing to send out his troops, then he would find someone who was willing to send troops to join forces. He didn't believe it. Was there really no Wizard King who was willing to send troops? Sigh. Seeing Wu Jiao leave, Wu Fang suddenly let out a long sigh. The Sorcerer tribe and Ji Yufei's camp had started a war. If they angered Ji Yufei, the consequences would be disastrous. Although Wu Jiao was a little smart, in front of an absolutely powerful person, all schemes and tricks were useless. The shaman's victory was a lesson to learn from. That Wu Ying thought he was smart and wanted to test Ji Yufei. However, Ji Yufei didn't care whether he tested him or not. He would kill him the moment he appeared. Wu Jiao was playing with his own life now. If Ji Yufei came out of seclusion and found Wu Jiao and killed him, who in the Sorcerer tribe would dare to say anything? The strong were respected. This was the eternal truth of this world. Your Majesty, the North Garrison King's army will arrive at Flying Tiger City in about 2 days. A general behind Wu Fang wanted to say something but stopped. Let's wait and see. I'm a little uneasy these few days. It seems that something bad is going to happen. Wu Fang frowned. The lips of the general behind Wu Fang moved, but in the end, he didn't say anything. Compared to the area around Feihu City that was at daggers drawn, the southern Man capital was very calm. However, everyone knew that this was only the calmness on the surface. In the southern Man capital, ever since Jiyu Fei asked all the sorcerer tribe people to get lost, not a single sorcerer tribe person could be seen in the southern Man capital. Now, those who controlled the southern Man capital were the forces of the vassal kings who had submitted to Jiyu Fei. The only person these vassal kings were afraid of was Jiyu Fei. On the surface, they were respectful to goddess little Ya, but secretly, they didn't care about a little girl at all. The current southern Man capital was divided up by the 11 vassal kings, and each had their own sphere of influence. Even the fierce Tiger King and the North Garrison King also had a territory in the southern Man capital. Little Ya turned a blind eye to these and let these vassal kings do whatever they wanted. The entire southern Man capital was in a foul atmosphere because of these vassal kings. However, no matter what these vassal kings did in the southern Man capital, they didn't dare to extend their hands into the imperial palace. This was because the imperial palace was an absolute forbidden place for the vassal kings. Whoever dared to extend their hands into the imperial palace was a traitor. For traitors, Jiyu Fei's punishment was very simple, and that was to directly slap them to death. Jiyu Fei even dared to get rid of the wilderness, let alone these vassal kings. Master, those guys in the city are getting more and more impudent. In the inner hall of the southern Man imperial palace, little Ya carefully said to Jiyu Fei, who was sitting cross-legged on the throne. Let's just treat it as a show. Jiyu Fei said indifferently. At this time, he was actually thinking about whether or not to refine a suitable weapon, because the Dao artifacts he refined were left for Yang and his daughter Jiyu Ling. He currently didn't have a Dao artifact that he refined himself. Although he had the Emperor Beheader saber and the golden armor and golden spear from the barbarian emperor, these were not his own Dao artifacts. For Jiyu Fei, the most suitable Dao artifact for himself was the Dao artifact that he refined himself. Previously, his cultivation was not enough to refine powerful Dao artifacts, but now it was different. He had restored his cultivation to the eternal realm, so naturally, he could refine an eternal level Dao artifact. However, what kind of Dao artifact to refine and what materials to use to refine, this was a great knowledge that must not be sloppy. Throughout the myriad worlds, the bell, cauldron, and sword were the 3 most common Dao artifacts. He had refined the 9 heaven stars sword, but he had not refined the bell and cauldron. Chapter 50-30. While East King and the sorcerer tribe were attacking Jiyu Fei's camp, Jiyu Fei was thinking about how to forge his own Dao artifact. Only a Dao artifact forged by himself would be the most suitable for him. Jiyu Fei didn't put East King and the sorcerer tribe in his eyes. They were just small fries and weren't qualified for him to make a move. Only an expert at the level of Palace Master Ling Tian would be qualified to be Jiyu Fei's opponent. Forging a Dao artifact was not an easy task. Forging a Dao artifact required materials. The materials that Jiyu Fei wanted were definitely not ordinary materials. Next was the place to forge a Dao artifact. To forge an eternal grade Dao artifact, he needed a place where spiritual energy gathered. There was a place to forge a Dao artifact. The Earth Ancestor vein deep under the southern barbarian royal capital was a good place. However, materials were difficult to obtain. In the Void Realm, it was not easy to find a suitable peerless material. Master, you want to forge a Dao artifact? Xiao Ya was curious. Her master seemed to know everything. Was her master an omnipotent peerless expert? Just thinking about it. Peerless materials are hard to come by. Jiyu Fei sighed. Hearing this, Xiao Ya directly walked out of the palace hall. Then, she led some people to the palace treasury and searched it inside and out. Obviously, Xiao Ya wasn't able to find any peerless divine materials in the treasure vault of the imperial palace because Man Yu had taken away everything he could before leaving the imperial palace. The things left in the treasury were things that even Man Yu didn't care about. Ji Yufei didn't care about this trash at all. Peerless materials could only be found and not sought. Ji Yufei had no other choice. Just as Ji Yufei was thinking about forging a Dao artifact, Long Xiaoju was still chasing after Man Yu and Mu Tianfeng. Mr. Choshirei fought with Lei Ao for a few rounds, but Mr. Choshirei escaped. This made the vice-sect master of the battle sect furious. Although the battle sect wasn't a first-rate power in Middle Sky, their territory wasn't small. Mu Tianfeng brought Man Yu and fled towards the direction of Extreme Devil Cave. Long Xiaozhou's Dao protector was a ruthless character who was proficient in stealth and tracking techniques. It would not be easy for Mu Tianfeng to get rid of Long Xiaozhou and the others. They followed the trail all the way to a small town. This small town was located at the border between the Battle Sect and the Nine Mysteries Sect. The Nine Mysteries Gate was a sect of the same level as the Battle Gate. The Nine Mysteries Gate's sect master was a half-step Emperor Realm cultivator, and his subordinates were as many as the clouds in the sky. The Nine Mysteries Gate was located on the Nine Mysteries Mountain, hence its name. Long Xiaozhou entered the small town. Her arrival did not alarm anyone. Along the way, Long Xiaozhou suddenly stopped in front of a shed by the street. There were many people drinking and eating meat in the shed. She walked directly into the shed and arrived in front of an old man and a young man. The old man and the young man stopped and looked up at Long Xiaozhou. "Run, why aren't you running anymore?" Long Xiaozhou looked at the old man and the young man and sneered. "Young lady, please don't disturb us grandfather and grandson eating." The old man said coldly. "You still want to eat? Don't tell me you want to die of hunger." Long Xiaozhou said with a smile. At this time, the other people in the wine shed saw that the situation was not right, so they paid their bills and left. "I don't know what you're talking about," the old man said angrily. "Is that so? Then go to hell." Long Xiaozhou flipped his right hand and a saber immediately appeared in his hand. "Let's go." The old man grabbed the young man beside him and shot into the sky, smashing through the roof and rushing out. "You can go down now." The mysterious and unfathomable shadow made his move. A large net fell from the sky, directly enveloping the old man and the young man. "What?" The old man was shocked. In the next moment, he immediately struck out an incomparably sharp blade of light towards the large net that was falling from the sky. The blade of light struck the large net but was actually unable to cut it, causing the old man and the young man to be shocked. They could only rush down from the sky, return to the wine shed, and then rush out of the wine shed. However, at this moment, a blade of light directly slashed towards the old man and the young man, and an extremely sharp blade energy immediately erupted. The old man didn't even think and directly grabbed the young man. With a bang, he directly smashed through the wooden wall of the wine shed and rushed out of the wine shed. At this moment, everyone in the wine shed had escaped, and the startled residents of the small town were watching from afar with fear. Still thinking of escaping at this time? Long Xiaozhou slashed the wine shed into two with a single slash, and the sharp blade light shot out hundreds of zhong, forcing the old man and the young man to dodge once again. "You're going too far," the old man roared angrily. "Mu Tianfeng, Man Yu, you won't be able to escape today." Long Xiaozhou grabbed the emperor beheading blade and directly rushed towards the old man. The cold blade energy was vast and mighty, and the surrounding temperature dropped rapidly. It turned out that the old man and the young man were actually Mu Tianfeng and Man Yu in disguise. However, they never would have thought that even though they had already changed their appearances, they were still found by Long Xiaozhou. "Kill." Mu Tianfeng was furious. He threw Man Yu out, and both his hands quickly danced. Blade of light after blade of light covered the sky and the earth as they slashed towards Long Xiaozhou. However, Long Xiaozhou merely shook the emperor beheading blade in his hand, and a powerful blade energy fluctuation spread out. All of the blade of light that was slashing towards him directly collapsed in the air. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Mu Tianfeng rushed over, grabbed Man Yu, and fled. Long Xiaozhou's mysterious shadow punched Mu Tianfeng's back, the berserk fist force exploded, and Mu Tianfeng directly pounced forward. He used this fist energy to grab Man Yu, and in an instant, he was far away. "What?" Long Xiaozhou directly raised his blade and chased after him. However, Mu Tianfeng had already disappeared into the mountains outside the town with Man Yu, and they were nowhere to be seen. Although Man Yu didn't make a move, his ability to escape was not weak. Damn it! Long Xiaoju was shocked and angry. This Mu Tianfeng really had some ability to actually let them escape like this. However, Long Xiaoju wasn't worried, because her shadow protector was proficient in tracking. She wanted to see where these two fellows could escape to. At this moment, Mr. Choshure was also in an incomparably sorry state. He was caught up by Lei Ao again. After a great battle, there were a few more wounds on his body. However, compared to Mu Tianfeng and Man Yu, Mr. Choshure easily got rid of Lei Ao. They were all heading towards the extreme devil cave. This caused Long Xiaoju to be very shocked. What were these fellows trying to do? To the extreme devil cave? Chapter 50-31. Long Xiaoju was shocked after guessing the reason why Man Yu and the others came to End Sky. Extreme Devil Cave was a forbidden area for all living beings in the Void Realm. Even Emperor Realm existences didn't dare to enter that place. That place had caused many disasters that shook the entire Void Realm. Extreme Devil Cave was definitely one of the most terrifying places in the Void Realm. It was the origin of the Void Realm's devils. All the devils in the Void Realm came from there. If an ordinary creature were to barge into this devil origin land, it would turn into a terrifying monster. If those beings with extremely high cultivations were to barge in, they would turn into demons and bring disaster to the world. Something like this had happened in the Void Realm before. A severely injured and dying emperor had walked into the extreme demon cave in despair. When he came out, he had transformed into a terrifying demon emperor and started a massacre in the Void Realm. When the devil emperor came out, he almost turned the Void Realm into a devil land. In the end, Lingtian Palace joined forces with the 5 emperors to fight against the devil emperor. Only then did they manage to kill the devil emperor. Could it be that Man Yu borrowed the power of the devil to obtain the power to fight against Ji Yufei? However, the power of the devil Dao was very difficult to control. If one wasn't careful, they would lose themselves and become a devil that only knew how to kill. Long Xiaoju thought, how could this be? She immediately sent a message to the West Sea and gathered the experts of the Dragon Clan. The West Sea was very far from End Sky, but they could travel between the two places through teleportation formations. After receiving Long Xiaozhou's message, the West Sea Dragon Clan immediately sent 10 experts to End Sky. Among the 10 experts was the Black Dragon King, who had once led an army into the southern barbarians. He was a ruthless character. The 10 experts of the West Sea Dragon Clan were led by the Black Dragon King to Battle City. Following that, one formidable aura after another appeared within Battle City, causing the cultivators within the city to fall into a state of panic. The Battle Gates sect master, Wang Dozhan, personally welcomed these experts from the West Sea Dragon Clan. The Black Dragon King didn't stop there. He directly left Battle City and rushed to the Extreme Devil Cave. They wanted to wait for their prey. No matter where Mu Gaofeng and Man Yu hid, they would still have to go to the Extreme Devil Cave. Only in Extreme Devil Cave could they obtain great power. However, there was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Even bird droppings were common. If one wanted to obtain great power, one had to pay the price. Becoming a demon was the price. Wang Dozhan also followed the Black Dragon King and the others towards the Extreme Demon Cave. The depths of the Extreme Devil Mountain Range were shrouded in devil chi all year round. In this mountain range, the most common creatures were devil beasts. These were all beasts that had been infected by devil chi and had been demonized. Of course, there were also demon birds. The Extreme Demon Mountain Range was the only place in the Mirage where magical beasts could be found. Moreover, there were many magical beasts in the mountain range. In the deepest part of the mountain range, there were even magical beast emperors. The Emperor of Magical Beasts was an existence that could contend against human Emperor realm cultivators. The Extreme Devil Mountain Range wasn't small at all. It was at least 4,000 miles wide. The central region of the Extreme Devil Mountain Range was filled with devil chi. There was a huge underground cavern there that constantly emitted devil chi. The roars of demonic beasts could be heard from time to time in the extreme Devil Mountain range. On the outskirts of the extreme Devil Mountain range, there were cities built. There were many cities like this outside the extreme Devil Mountain range. On the outskirts of the extreme Devil Mountain range, there were many temples. The extreme Devil Mountain range was the territory of the Zenith Buddha clan. For countless years, the Zenith Buddha clan had been suppressing the countless demonic beasts in the extreme Devil Mountain range for glory. The cities outside the extreme Devil Mountain range were also under the control of the Zenith Buddha clan. The Black Dragon King led the West Sea Dragon clan's experts to the Blessed Buddha City outside the extreme Devil Mountain range. The Blessed Buddha City was the biggest city among the 17 cities outside the extreme Devil Mountain range. It was also the most important city because it was located at the biggest entrance of the extreme Devil Mountain range. This was also the place where the demonic beasts in the extreme Devil Mountain range attacked the most. Every year, there would be a beast tide in the extreme Devil Mountain range, and the Blessed Buddha City was the first to bear the brunt of it. Every year, many people in the Blessed Buddha City died under the claws of the demonic beasts while defending against the beast tide. However, the Blessed Buddha City wasn't the only entrance to the extreme Devil Mountain range. No one knew which entrance Man Yu and the others would use to enter the extreme Devil Mountain range. The manpower that the Black Dragon King brought was far from enough. Fortunately, Wang Dozhan had mobilized many disciples from the Sect of Battle. Very soon, the people from the Sect of Battle were keeping an eye on the 17 cities. In this way, as long as Man Yu and the others entered the 17 cities, they would be discovered by the Black Dragon King. Just as Long Xiaoju opened the sack and waited for the demons to come in, the situation in the southern barbarian capital changed again. The Fierce Tiger King's army and the North Vanquishing King's army finally met. These two fellows joined hands to attack the Black Wolf City. This shocked the Shaman King, Wu Jiao. Wu Jiao's army couldn't withstand the combined might of the Fierce Tiger King and the North Vanquishing King. Very soon, the Black Wolf City was breached by the combined forces of the two vassal kings. Countless soldiers rushed into the Black Wolf City. Wu Jiao had no choice but to give up. He abandoned the city and fled. The other shaman kings of the sorcerer tribe didn't come to his aid. They just let the Fierce Tiger King and the North Vanquishing King attack the Black Wolf City. The Shaman Fang's army was nearby, but he still chose to stand by and watch. It was obvious that the shaman kings of the sorcerer tribe weren't as united as they seemed on the surface. It couldn't be helped, because the shaman emperor didn't care about the affairs of the sorcerer tribe, and the shaman kings didn't respect each other. Wu Jiao was defeated and lost the Black Wolf City. However, on the other side, the East Vanquishing King also made a move. In the sky above the Sky Scorpion mountain range, the two ancestors of Array Dao were fighting. Countless array inscriptions were destroyed in the void, and an extremely terrifying aura filled the sky and the ground. Myriad transformations, old ghost, you're still alive. Ancestor Tianhong was stunned when he saw the myriad transformations ancestor. 10,000 years ago, the myriad transformations celestial sect was extremely powerful and had countless disciples. However, the myriad transformations celestial sect had become a thing of the past. Tianhong, let's see who's the best in Array Dao today. The myriad transformations ancestor sneered. At that moment, the array inscriptions that rushed out from his body intertwined in the void, forming array diagrams that pressed down on the Sky Scorpion mountain range below. Meanwhile, ancestor Tianhong controlled the power of Array Dao and was also setting up an array. The high sky became the place where the two ancestors of Array Dao battled. Chapter 50-32. Ji Yufei didn't seem to care about the situation in Nanman at all. He began to refine his own Dao tool and began to send people to look for peerless divine materials. However, peerless divine materials were not so easy to find. Master, what kind of divine materials do you need to refine? In a courtyard of the Nanman Imperial Palace, Ji Yufei sat under a big tree in the courtyard, tasting tea, and beside him stood Xiao Ya. The morning air was very fresh. Even if it was a mess outside the Imperial Palace, the Nanman Imperial Palace was extremely quiet. Moreover, now, the safest place in the entire Nanman, even the entire Nanman Imperial capital, was definitely the Nanman Imperial Palace because it was a forbidden area. Without Jiyu Fei's summon, no one could step into the Nanman Imperial Palace. Of course, his two disciples, Xiao Ya and Long Xiaoju, were exceptions. This, it's best if it's ninth heaven divine gold, 9 nether cold iron, or the immortal divine iron bred from the 5 elements of spiritual energy. Jiyu Fei thought for a moment. What? When Xiao Ya heard this, she immediately sweated on her forehead. She had never heard of these things, let alone seen them. Well, this matter is not urgent. You can do what you have to do, Jiyu Fei said indifferently. Yes, master, then disciple will take his leave. Xiao Ya bowed to Jiyu Fei, then turned and walked out. Boring. Why don't I go to the land of void beginning to have a look? Jiyu Fei wanted to go out for a walk after a long period of silence. The land of void beginning was a forbidden area in the void realm. Ordinary people couldn't go in at all because there were people from the Tian clan guarding it. Even the palace master of Ling Tian Palace didn't dare to break into the land of void beginning. That girl from Ling Tian Palace is also an outsider. Why don't I go to her to understand the situation first? Jiyu Fei did as he thought. The next moment, he disappeared in an instant. I'm going out to get some fresh air. If there's anything, crush the protective talisman I gave you. Xiao Ya, who had just left the courtyard where Jiyu Fei was, heard Jiyu Fei's voice in her head. This, Xiao Ya was shocked. Her master had left. What could she do? Her greatest confidence and reliance was her master. However, no one knew that master had come out of seclusion, so the people outside did not dare to be too presumptuous. In the entire southern wilderness, even in the entire void realm, who didn't know how powerful Jiyu Fei was? He had killed the barbarian emperor, insulted Ling Tian Palace master, and dared to fight against him. This was Jiyu Fei, domineering to the extreme. The Ling Tian Palace was naturally above the 9 heavens, and the Ling Tian Palace's ancestral land was really in the heavens, not on the earth. Above the 9 heavens, there was a mysterious place that seemed to be another world. It was very difficult for an ordinary person, even an Emperor Realm expert, to find the mountain gate of the Ling Tian Palace. It could be said that without the guidance of the Ling Tian Palace, even an Emperor Realm expert would not be able to find the mountain gate of the Ling Tian Palace. However, Jiyu Fei was an exception. Not only did he find the location of the Ling Tian Palace's mountain gate easily, but he also punched the opponent's defensive formation. Boom! A loud noise shook the entire mountain gate of the Ling Tian Palace. Countless disciples of the Ling Tian Palace were alarmed by this sudden loud noise. Who dares to break into the mountain gate of the Ling Tian Palace? An angry roar came from the mountain gate of the Ling Tian Palace. Then, a middle-aged man in white appeared in front of Jiyu Fei. Where did this wild kid come from? How dare you attack the mountain gate formation of the Ling Tian Palace? Are you tired of living? The middle-aged man was high and mighty as he shouted at Jiyu Fei arrogantly. Ask the palace master of the Ling Tian Palace to come out and see me. Jiyu Fei didn't put this guy in his eyes at all. What did you say? That person widened his eyes and looked at Jiyu Fei dumbfoundedly. This guy must be crazy. What? Are you deaf? Didn't you hear what I said? Jiyu Fei said impatiently. You want to see our palace master? Who do you think you are? Do you think our palace master is someone you can see whenever you want? The middle-aged man in white had a look of disdain and contempt. Sigh, the Ling Tian Palace, Jiyu Fei shook his head and sighed. He seemed to have overestimated the Ling Tian Palace. What are you shaking your head for? What are you sighing for? Get lost now. Otherwise, I will send you to reincarnate. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up and his face revealed a sinister look. TSK, I am more than happy to let you send me to reincarnate. Come, I am standing right here. Let's see what you are going to use to send me to reincarnate. Jiyu Fei crossed his arms and said coldly. You are courting death. The middle-aged man roared and threw a punch at Jiyu Fei. Jiyu Fei didn't have any intention to make a move. Just as the middle-aged man's fist was about to hit Jiyu Fei still didn't move. The middle-aged man laughed sinisterly and increased the strength of his fist by 30%. He really wanted to kill Ji Yufei because if Ji Yufei was an ordinary godly state expert, he would definitely die. Unfortunately, Ji Yufei wasn't in the godly state but the transcendent emperor realm. Bam! Catcher! A dull sound was accompanied by the sound of bones breaking and a scream. The middle-aged man who was guarding the mountain gate of the Ling Tian Palace was sent flying. It directly smashed through a door of light on the Great Guardian formation. Exclamations could be heard from the light door. Soon, a few figures rushed out from the light door. How dare you come to the Ling Tian Palace and behave atrociously? Kill. The leader of the group released his flying sword. An extremely sharp sword radiance turned into a sword rainbow and flew towards Ji Yufei. The sword aura was vast and mighty. The temperature of the surrounding void dropped rapidly under the impact of the sword aura. The sword principal expert was only at the peak of the godly king realm. In the eyes of Ji Yufei, such an existence was just an ant. Noisy. Ji Yufei waved his right hand casually and the sharp sword radiance shattered in the void. What? The sword king's body trembled violently, and his face turned completely pale. In the next moment, he spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed to the ground. How is this possible? Seeing this scene, the disciples of the Ling Tian Palace who rushed out from the light door were all stunned. This person shattered the sword elder's flying sword with a casual wave of his hand. This kind of cultivation was too terrifying. Who exactly are you? A white-haired old man stood out and stared fiercely at Ji Yufei. Ask your palace lord to come out and see me. Ji Yufei stood with his hands behind his back and looked up at the sky. He didn't care about these people at all. All the disciples of the Ling Tian Palace were stunned. This guy actually wanted to see the palace lord. You want to see our palace lord? You aren't qualified. A young man shouted at Ji Yufei. Ha ha. I'm not qualified. Ji Yufei laughed. What's going on? Haven't you chased away the guy outside? What a bunch of trash. A figure flashed in the light door. In the next moment, another person walked out from the light door. This guy was actually a big fatty. Greetings, Elder Qian. When the disciples of the Ling Tian Palace saw this person, they hurriedly bowed to this big fatty. Who dares to cause trouble in the Ling Tian Palace? Really gutsy. The person who came was Qian Yishan, the finance elder of the Ling Tian Palace. It's me. You have an opinion. Ji Yufei smiled and turned to look at Qian Yishan. Ayo, Mom. Chapter 5033. Ji Yufei left Southman's capital and went straight to Ling Tian Palace. He specifically asked for the palace master of Ling Tian Palace. This made the elder guarding the mountain gate of the Ling Tian Palace unhappy. How could the palace master of the Ling Tian Palace be someone that anyone could meet? Moreover, this guy was not a big shot. He was just an ordinary godly state lad. How dare he come to Ling Tian Palace and behave atrociously? However, Ji Yufei casually shattered the guardian elder's flying sword. This scene made everyone's jaws drop. Haha, little fella, you're dead this time. Elder Qian, it's him. He actually dared to attack the guardian elder's mountain guarding formation and threatened to settle the score with our palace master. When the sword elder saw Qian Yishan, he, who was originally very weak, immediately became spirited. He directly narrated what had happened just now with exaggerated details. However, at this moment, when Qian Yishan, the finance elder of Ling Tian Palace, saw Ji Yufei, he was so scared that his face turned pale and his legs turned to jelly. As for what the sword elder said, he did not hear a single word. Elder Qian, what's wrong with you? The sword elder then noticed Qian Yishan's abnormality. He was shocked to see that Qian Yishan seemed to be greatly frightened. Why? Even you, damn fatty, think that I'm not qualified to meet your palace master? Ji Yufei looked at Qian Yishan with a faint smile. Who do you think you are? Go back to where you came from. The white-robed old man roared at Ji Yufei. Go! Who the hell are you asking to go? Qian Yishan roared and slapped the white-clothed old man's face. The slap made the white-clothed old man spin 3 times on the spot and sit on the ground. He was stunned. The elder in white was also a guardian elder. However, compared to Qian Yishan, he was not even qualified to carry shoes. Qian Yishan was an inner elder of Ling Tian Palace and one of the core figures. He was in charge of all the finances of Ling Tian Palace and had great power. Although the white-robed old man looked very old, he had only cultivated for a few hundred years. Qian Yishan and the others had cultivated for at least 10,000 years. Everyone from Ling Tian Palace was dumbfounded. Haha, you don't have to joke with these juniors. How could you not be qualified to meet our palace master? Qian Yishan turned around and said to Ji Yufei with a smile. Even Ji Yufei couldn't help but admire this guy's ability to change faces. He had really reached the realm of perfection. Seeing that their elder Qian was fawning over this young man in black, everyone was shocked. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, who would believe that this was true? Qian Yishan was one of the inner court elders of the Ling Tian Palace who had witnessed the battle between Ji Yufei and the Ling Tian Palace master in the southern barbarian royal capital. This Ji Yufei was a madman that even the Ling Tian Palace master couldn't do anything to. When he saw that the person was Ji Yufei, Qian Yishan was already scared out of his wits. If Ji Yufei wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as blowing off dust. These guys guarding the door actually dared to offend Ji Yufei. They must be tired of living. Then, you lead the way, Ji Yufei said indifferently. Yes, yes, yes. Please. Qian Yishan quickly stepped aside and made a gesture to invite him in. When Elder Jian and the white-robed old man saw this scene, they were really shocked. What was going on? Elder Qian actually wanted to bring this guy into Ling Tian Palace? Could this guy really have a great background? At this moment, both Elder Jian and the mountain guarding elder were shivering. They all lowered their heads and didn't dare to look at Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei calmly walked into the light gate on the mountain guarding formation. Qian Yishan quickly followed. How dare you barge into my Ling Tian Palace? Die. Ji Yufei had just walked into the Ling Tian Palace when a beam of cold light descended from the sky and smashed towards his head. Clang. In the next moment, a giant axe was embedded in Ji Yufei's head. Qian Yishan, who was walking behind, saw this scene and was instantly scared out of his wits. Bam! At this moment, a figure fell from the sky and landed on the ground, causing the ground to tremble. The person who came was a huge man who was 10 feet tall. He was incomparably strong and looked like an iron tower. Compared to this big guy, Ji Yufei was simply like a child. He only reached the big guy's chest. Seeing that his giant axe was actually embedded in Ji Yufei's head, the big guy was also dumbfounded. This guy's head was actually harder than his giant axe. This axe is yours. Ji Yufei directly removed the giant axe that was embedded in his head. His head was not injured at all. However, the big guy's giant axe had a head-sized piece. How is this possible? The big guy was dumbfounded. His axe wasn't an ordinary artifact. I'm a very fair person. You hit me with your axe, so I'll return the favor. As Ji Yufei spoke, he directly chopped at the big guy with his axe. Elder, please calm down. A voice sounded, and then a figure suddenly appeared between Ji Yufei and the big guy. What? Ji Yufei withdrew his giant axe because if he chopped down with his axe, even Qian Yishan, the fatty, would be unlucky. He's the great elder's only son. Qian Yishan lowered his voice and said to Ji Yufei. So what? Ji Yufei waved his left hand, and Qian Yishan, who was blocking in front of him, flew out like a ball. In the blink of an eye, no one knew where he went. Then, he raised his hand and chopped down. There was a flash of blood, followed by a scream. The big guy's left arm was directly chopped off. How dare you hurt my son? You're courting death. An angry roar came from afar. The person instantly came close and punched at Ji Yufei. The extremely violent fist force instantly enveloped Ji Yufei. Scram! Ji Yufei waved his right sleeve, and the person who attacked was immediately sent flying. Boom! A small mountain floating in the void was smashed into pieces. Seeing this scene, everyone in Ling Tian Palace was dumbfounded. How dare you behave atrociously in Ling Tian Palace? The battle elder descended from the sky. However, when he saw Ji Yufei's appearance, he shivered and almost knelt on the ground. Master Ji Yu, the elder of the battle hall stuttered. What's going on? Everyone was shocked to see the dignified elder of the towering Heaven Palace's battle hall acting like a mouse in front of a cat in front of Ji Yufei. That was the battle elder of Ling Tian Palace. The other inner elders also rushed over, ready to fight with the intruder. However, when they saw that it was Ji Yufei, all of them were terrified. A bunch of cowards. Chapter 50-34. Master. Master Ji Yu. When the inner sect elders of Ling Tian Palace saw that the person who broke into the mountain gate was Ji Yufei, they were dumbfounded. What was this malefic doing here? No one knew why Ji Yufei was here. Little girl from Ling Tian Palace, come out and see me. Ji Yufei stood with his hands behind his back and shouted at the largest sacred mountain floating in the void within the Ling Tian Palace's mountain gate. What? The upper echelons of Ling Tian Palace were so shocked by Ji Yufei that their legs went soft and they almost fell to the ground. How dare this guy be so presumptuous? You little brat. A voice that sounded like the voice of nature came from the top of the mountain. A figure appeared in front of the Ling Tian Palace hall at the peak of the mountain. Palace Master. The upper echelons of Ling Tian Palace hurriedly bowed to the figure in front of the hall. Ling Tian Palace Master came out. Do you have time to chat? Ji Yufei looked up at the figure on the mountain peak and said indifferently, Hey, your cultivation seems to have increased by quite a bit. Sure, let's have a fight first. Ling Tian Palace Master soared into the sky, out of the mountain gate of Ling Tian Palace and arrived outside the 9 heavens. Ha ha. As you wish. Ji Yufei still stood with his hands behind his back. Then, he soared into the sky and chased after Ling Tian Palace Master. The upper echelons of Ling Tian Palace were shocked. Their palace master actually wanted to fight with Ji Yufei and Ji Yufei's cultivation had increased. How long had it been? This Ji Yufei was simply a monster. The rate at which his cultivation was rising was simply too fast. Open the mountain gate. Open the mountain gate. Hurry up. The fat man, Qian Yishan, shouted at the elder guarding the mountain gate. Yes, yes, yes. The 2 mountain guardian elders hurriedly scrambled towards the mountain guardian formation's formation core. Rumble. The mountain gates of the Ling Tian Palace had opened. It had been 1,000 years since the last time the Ling Tian Palace had opened its mountain gates. Moreover, the Ling Tian Palace had opened its doors to welcome the 5 monarchs who had come to pay their respects to the Ling Tian Palace Master. But now, Ling Tian Palace had opened their doors for Ji Yufei alone. This was something that Ling Tian Palace had never done before. At this time, the towering Heavenly Palace's mountain gate had only opened a small gap, but the group of towering Heavenly Palace's higher-ups had already rushed out impatiently. Boom! Just as the towering Heavenly Palace's old-timers rushed out, a thunderous boom rang out above their heads, shaking their souls so much that they almost collapsed. The upper echelons of the Ling Tian Palace turned pale with fright. At this time, high up in the sky, 2 figures were moving at high speed. Violent energy fluctuations descended from the sky. That pressure landed on the upper echelons of Ling Tian Palace, causing them to almost be unable to straighten their backs. So powerful. Is this the power of surpassing the Emperor realm? The upper echelons of the Ling Tian Palace were shocked. The Ling Tian Palace Master was still as mysterious as ever. Her body was still shrouded in a layer of divine light. But Ji Yufei still couldn't see through the Ling Tian Palace Master's appearance. This caused Ji Yufei to be shocked. His cultivation had recovered to the Eternal Realm. The Eternal Realm was the legendary transcendent Emperor realm in the Void Realm. Ji Yufei realized that he had underestimated the Ling Tian Palace Master. One punch to break the limit. Ji Yufei immediately threw out his strongest punch. This punch shook the entire sky and earth. Ji Yufei's fist energy instantly soared to the limit and then broke through it. Breaking the limit meant breaking through the limit. Hey, this is interesting. The Ling Tian Palace Master smiled. Ji Yufei's progress was really great. But in her eyes, it was still not enough. Just as the Ling Tian Palace Master was speaking, a shield condensed in front of her. Ji Yufei's ferocious punch landed heavily on the shield. This shield was formed by the Ling Tian Palace Master using the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. This kind of transformation technique was very common. Even God Realm cultivators could do it. However, when the shape-shifting technique was used by Palace Master Ling Tian, it was different. Ji Yufei's punch, which was powerful enough to shatter a divine mountain, landed on the shield in front of Ling Tian Palace Master. However, it felt as if it had landed on a ball of cotton, making her feel as if she had not exerted any strength. Hey! Ji Yufei was shocked. The Ling Tian Palace Master wanted to use such a simple battle technique to neutralize his fist energy. Roar! Ji Yufei roared and shook his right fist. An even stronger fist energy exploded from his fist. You're still holding back. The Ling Tian Palace Master could not help but be surprised when she saw this. This guy really exceeded her expectations. As Ji Yufei's fist energy exploded, the shield in front of the Ling Tian Palace Master dispersed. In the next moment, Ji Yufei's fist landed on the Ling Tian Palace Master's protective light. Ji Yufei only felt a warm sensation coming from his right fist. His fist was actually blocked by his opponent's hand, and the force behind his punch was instantly dissipated by his opponent's hand. Afterwards, a great force came from the hand. The force directly pushed Ji Yufei away. He could not help but take 6 or 7 steps back. You're an infinite prime? Ji Yufei no longer had any doubts. The Ling Tian Palace Master was actually an infinite prime. You know about infinite primes too? Did you come down from above as well? The Ling Tian Palace Master's voice rang out. What did you say? You're from the infinite realm? With Ji Yufei's intelligence, he immediately knew where this Palace Master Ling Tian came from. He was truly shocked. This little girl actually came from the limitless realm. The unbounded realm. That was the highest level world that Ji Yufei knew of. Little guy, so you're an imposter? The Ling Tian Palace Master smiled. What did you say? Ji Yufei said angrily. Haha, I know. Something went wrong with your ascension. The Ling Tian Palace Master also immediately guessed why Ji Yufei came to the Void Realm. Why? Do you know how to leave this damn place? Ji Yufei asked. Although he looked calm on the surface, he was extremely nervous in his heart. I know. You came to me to ask about these things, right? The Ling Tian Palace Master guessed correctly again. Ji Yufei really could not accept it. How can I leave here? Ji Yufei really could not sit still. Even his voice was trembling. The Ling Tian Palace Master was silent. After a while, she said, there's no way. Even I can't enter that place. It's over. Ji Yufei was directly dumbfounded. Don't be so pessimistic. I can't do it alone. But with you, we might succeed. The Ling Tian Palace Master continued. Ji Yufei was almost driven crazy by the Ling Tian Palace Master. Chapter 50-35. When Ji Yufei came to Ling Tian Palace, everyone in Ling Tian Palace was shocked. Everyone knew how powerful Master Ji Yu was. He was someone who could wrestle with Ling Tian Palace Master. Ling Tian Palace Master was recognized as the strongest person in the world. In fact, the Ling Tian Palace was able to stand above the 5 forces largely because of the Ling Tian Palace's Palace Master. Of course, Ling Tian Palace Master had been famous for countless years. The entire Void Realm was her legend. However, she had not fought for a long time. As time passed, people began to doubt Ling Tian Palace Master's combat strength. Hence, 1,000 years ago, the 5 royal lords paid a visit to Ling Tian Palace at the same time. Back then, this matter shook the world. The 5 royal lords paid a visit to Ling Tian Palace. In fact, everyone knew their goal. They wanted to test Ling Tian Palace's strength. They wanted to see if the legendary Ling Tian Palace Master was truly invincible. In the end, the 5 royal lords were thrown out of Ling Tian Palace by Ling Tian Palace Master. They all scurried away. Those who witnessed this scene outside Ling Tian Palace were dumbfounded. From then on, no one dared to challenge Ling Tian Palace in the past 1,000 years. Until Ji Yufei appeared out of nowhere. He swept through everything without a single defeat. He even killed one of the 5 royal lords, barbarian sovereign. However, the most shocking thing was that Ji Yufei dared to fight with Ling Tian Palace Master. It seemed like even Ling Tian Palace Master could not do anything to him. In this way, How would Ji Yufei's enemies dare to seek revenge from him? At this moment, Ji Yufei was fighting with the Ling Tian Palace Master outside the 9 heavens. He had finally tested out the true strength of the Ling Tian Palace Master. Ling Tian Palace Master was definitely an infinite rank existence. The center of this world might be a super teleportation formation. When Palace Master Ling Tian said those words, Ji Yufei was given quite a fright. A trans-realm teleportation formation? Ji Yufei exclaimed. Are you interested in taking a look? Ling Tian Palace Master smiled. Of course, Ji Yufei said impatiently. But your current cultivation is not enough. You should go back and practice. Palace Master Ling Tian shook his head. What, you dare to look down on me? Do you want to fight again? Ji Yufei glared at Ling Tian Palace Master and said. You don't even have a suitable Dao artifact. How are you going to challenge the array with me? Do you think that place is so easy to enter? Palace Lord Ling Tian said disapprovingly. Ji Yufei was speechless. Even Palace Master Ling Tian was fearful of that place. It seemed that it was truly extraordinary. Could it be that he really had to forge a Dao artifact first? Do you have divine materials? Give me some. Ji Yufei suddenly laughed. Scram. Palace Master Ling Tian waved his sleeves and Ji Yufei disappeared in an instant as though he was riding on a cloud. Ling Tian Palace Master's lass, just you wait. The higher-ups of the Towering Heaven Palace were dumbfounded when they saw Ji Yufei descend from the sky and land in front of the mountain gate of the Towering Heaven Palace. Ji Yufei directly fell from the 9 heavens like a meteor. Boom. With a loud sound, he directly smashed into the ground. Rumble. The entire earth was shaking, and a circle of dust that was hundreds of feet high swept out in all directions. Wherever it passed, trees were directly swept away, and mountains were instantly shattered. In the mountains, countless living beings suffered. Fortunately, this was a desolate forest with few people. Otherwise, many people would have died. What's going on? Could it be a meteorite falling from the sky? A dozen silhouettes appeared on top of a mountain in the mountain range. All of them looked into the distance in fear. A huge wave of dust was rapidly approaching them. They could all feel the vibration coming from under their feet. However, the yellow dust gradually weakened and stopped when it was still a dozen miles away from the mountain where the group of people were. By now, everything within a radius of 100 miles had been destroyed. A gigantic crater had appeared on the ground, and a figure was climbing out of the crater with much difficulty. Ling Tian Palace lass, you win. Ji Yufei pointed his middle finger at the sky. Now, Ji Yufei was in a sorry state. An unbounded realm monster was indeed powerful. However, Ling Tian Palace Master could not do anything to him because he had a true unbounded realm martial body. Soon, many figures appeared around the crater. Where is this? Ji Yufei stumbled out of the room. Hey, there's someone here. Someone exclaimed. In the next moment, 3 figures stood in front of Ji Yufei. Fellow Daoist, are you all right? A young man in green clothes said as he looked at Ji Yufei with vigilance. Do I look all right to you? Ji Yufei said gloomily. His clothes were tattered and his face was covered in dust. He was in a sorry state, but he was not injured. Fellow Daoist, you're really lucky. Another young man looked at Ji Yufei in shock. To be able to survive the impact of the meteorite, I'm afraid your cultivation is not low either. The 3 young cultivators were in disbelief. Do you know where I can take a bath and change my clothes? Ji Yufei asked. At this moment, he was depressed to find that his cultivation had been sealed by Ling Tian Palace Master. Of course, it would not be sealed for long. If you don't mind, then come with us. The young cultivator in the lead turned around and walked forward. Ji Yufei followed without hesitation. Through the conversation, he found out where these 3 guys came from. They were disciples from the nearby Skystar sect. They came here to investigate but met Ji Yufei. The Skystar sect was just a small sect. In this remote place, those big forces would naturally look down on them. However, those small sects could establish their forces here. Soon, the 3 disciples from the Skystar sect brought Ji Yufei back to the sect. Ji Fei took a bath and changed into a clean set of clothes. When he came out, the 3 disciples from the Skystar sect were already roasting the thigh of an unknown beast on a bonfire under a big tree. A meaty aroma wafted into Ji Fei's nose. "Brother Ji, this is the thigh of the golden bear that junior sister hunted. It's almost done. Come and have a taste." Feng Chen from the Skystar sect called out when he saw Ji Fei coming out. Rumble. When Ji Fei smelled the meaty aroma, his stomach immediately started to rumble. "Haha, all right." Ji Fei did not stand on ceremony and walked over with a smile. When he came to the bonfire, Ji Fei sat down and flipped his right hand. A jar of wine appeared in his hand. "Hey, you have a storage Dao artifact." Feng Chen was taken aback. He, Ji Fei smiled and did not say anything. "How can there be meat without wine?" As Ji Fei spoke, he removed the clay seal, and a sweet and mellow wine fragrance immediately spread out from the wine jar. Feng Chen and the rest swallowed their saliva when they smelled the wine. Chapter 50-36. Ji Fei learned from the Skystar sect's disciple, Feng Chen, that this was the middle sky domain, and the Skystar sect was just a small sect in the Meteorite mountain range. Legend had it that the Meteorite mountain range was formed by a meteorite that fell here. There were meteorites here, so the various sects in Middle Sky used to mine here. Meteorite iron mines could be seen everywhere here. However, 1,000 years ago, the meteorite iron mines here were all dug out, so the various sects in Middle Sky naturally withdrew. After the major forces retreated, all the meteorite iron mines were abandoned. Then, the meteorite mountain range was occupied by countless small sects. The abandoned mines that the various sects in Middle Sky looked down upon were delicious cakes in the eyes of these small sects. The Skystar sect was also one of the countless small sects in the Meteorite mountain range. Moreover, the Skystar sect controlled a total of 3 mines, and they were all considered good mines among the abandoned mines. Ji Fei had just arrived at the Skystar sect and was about to eat and drink with Feng Chen and the others, but at this moment, a battle cry came from outside the mountain gate of the Skystar sect. He saw black figures rushing into the mountain gate of the Skystar sect, and these black figures killed their way into the Skystar sect. Obviously, these people took advantage of the dark night to launch a surprise attack on the Skystar sect. The Skystar sect was caught unprepared and retreated in defeat. Soon, the group of black figures had already killed their way to the waist of the mountain. At the top of the mountain, many members of the Skystar sect appeared. Under the leadership of the Skystar sect's leader, the members of the Skystar sect killed their way down the mountain. "Wang Tianxing, come out and die." A loud shout reverberated through the mountains, and a black shadow suddenly soared into the sky, charging toward the heavenly starry sect master who was rushing down from the mountain peak. "Shuzhen, it's you?" The leader of the Skystar sect, Wang Tianxing, was shocked and angry when she saw that person. The person who came was Shuzhen of the Sky Shaking sect. This guy actually dared to bring people to sneak attack me. Damn it. Kill. Shuzhen directly punched towards Wang Tianxing below. "All of you, get out of the way," Wang Tianxing roared. In the next moment, she also punched upwards, and the strong fist force went against the sky. Boom. With a loud bang, the 2 fist forces collided, and the entire mountain seemed to shake. The people around Wang Tianxing, who could not dodge in time, were directly sent flying by the explosion of power. Divine Realm. Ji Fei was speechless when he saw this scene. Since when could a god-state cultivator establish a sect? These bastards from the heaven-shaking sect, Feng Chen and the others were shocked and angry at the same time. They grabbed their weapons and rushed down the mountain. Ji Fei still didn't move. He had just opened a jar of good wine. Feng Chen and the other 2 guys had gone to fight with the people from the Shaking Heaven sect. There was good wine and good meat here. If he didn't eat it, it would be too much of a waste. Ji Fei sat beside the bonfire, then took out a small knife, cut a piece of roasted beast meat, and threw it into his mouth. Not bad, not bad. Ji Fei took a bite. The roasted meat was very tender, and juice flowed from the corner of his mouth. After eating a few mouthfuls of meat, Ji Fei grabbed the jar of wine and drank a big mouthful. At this time, The people from the Sky Star sect and the Heaven Shaking sect had already started fighting. Suddenly, there was a flash of sword light, and blood splattered everywhere. People kept falling. The smell of blood permeated the air. "Hey, senior brother, there's a fool here." At this time, 3 black figures suddenly rushed out of the forest. The leader of the 3 black figures was a young man in black with a long sword in his hand. Everyone else is fighting and fighting, but he is here drinking wine and eating meat. The other cultivator looked around vigilantly. Kill. The leader of the group slashed his sword at Jiu Fei, who was sitting beside the bonfire. When the sword light was about to fall on Jiu Fei's head, Jiu Fei stretched out his right hand and used his index and middle fingers to catch the sword light. What? When the black-clothed young man saw this, he was really shocked. This guy actually used 2 fingers to clamp his sword. One had to know that the speed of a slash was not slow. To be able to catch a fast-moving sword was not an easy task. The 2 cultivators beside the young man in black were also shocked by this scene. The black-clothed youth wanted to pull back his sword, but it was as if his sword was a part of Jiu Fei's hand. Even if he used all his strength, the sword still wouldn't budge. "Who are you?" The young man in black was sweating profusely, and his voice was trembling. Jiu Fei did not care about this guy. He grabbed the jar of wine beside him and took another big mouthful. "You are not from the Sky Star sect, right? Could it be that you are an expert invited by the Sky Star sect?" The young man in black grabbed the hilt of his sword with his right hand, but his left hand could not help but wipe the cold sweat. "The Sky Star sect is not qualified to invite me," Jiu Fei said indifferently. When the young man in black heard this, his expression changed drastically. This time, he was afraid that he had really kicked an iron plate. "Since you are not from the Sky Star sect, it is just a misunderstanding between us. We will leave now," the young man in black said as he let go of the sword in his hand. He did not even want the sword and turned to leave. His 2 junior brothers wished that they could just run away. "Scram," Jiu Fei said as he waved his right hand. The sword that he had caught was inserted into the ground in front of the young man in black. The entire sword was inserted into the ground. The young man in black did not dare to stay there any longer. He immediately rushed into the forest and escaped down the mountain. "How dare the 3 of you escape in the face of danger? Damn it!" A loud shout was heard. In the next moment, a cold light flashed in the forest and a few screams were heard. The 3 disciples from the Heaven Shaking sect were immediately given a box of food. "Young man, can you buy me a drink?" A tall and fierce-looking middle-aged man with 2 axes walked out of the forest. "Divine state." Jiu Fei immediately sensed this guy's cultivation. This guy was also a divine state expert. The Heaven Shaking sect had produced 2 divine state experts. This might be the reason why the Heaven Shaking sect was so confident. "You are not qualified to drink with me," Jiu Fei said indifferently. He reached out and cut a piece of roasted meat from the grill and threw it into his mouth. "What did you say?" When the middle-aged man heard this, his eyes instantly shot out 2 rays of cold light. "I, the deputy leader of the Heaven Shaking sect, Shu Ba, am not qualified to drink with you," the middle-aged man roared angrily. He was a hot-tempered person. "You are not qualified." "Scram," Jiu Fei said coldly. "How dare you ask me to scram? You are courting death." Shu Ba roared and swung his axe at Jiu Fei's head. Jiu Fei stretched out his right hand again and directly grabbed the giant axe that was chopping down. Shu Ba's shock was not to be underestimated. In the next moment, Jiu Fei exerted force with his right hand and Shu Ba's giant axe was cut into pieces. How is this possible? Chapter 50-37. The moon was dark and the wind was strong. The people of the Heaven Shaking sect took advantage of the night to attack the Sky Star sect. A great battle between the Heaven Shaking sect and the Sky Star sect broke out. Both sides started a fierce battle in the mountain gate of the Sky Star sect. All of this was for the mine. The meteorite mountain range had nothing else but abandoned meteorite iron mines everywhere. Of course, these mineral veins had almost been completely exploited by the major forces of the central prefecture. However, The abandoned mineral veins that the major forces of the central prefecture looked down upon had become delicious cakes in the eyes of the small sects like the Heavenly Star sect and the Heaven-Shaking sect. The meteorite iron contained in these ores was very low. It took a lot of time and effort to refine the meteorite iron. In the eyes of the major forces, it was not worth spending so much manpower and resources to refine iron. However, these small forces were different. The meteorite iron was a rare thing. If they could refine it, it would be a profit for them. The Heaven-Shaking sect had been eyeing the 3 mines of the Skystar sect for a long time. Until tonight, they finally could not help but attack the Skystar sect. At this time, halfway up the mountain, the leader of the Skystar sect, Wang Tianxing, and the leader of the Heaven-Shaking sect, Xu Zhen, were fighting endlessly. Powerful divine state power erupted, causing the surrounding sand and stones to fly. The others did not dare to go near at all. After all, this was a battle between divine state experts. Ordinary people could not withstand it at all. Whether it was the people of the Skystar sect or the Heaven-Shaking sect, once they were affected by this level of battle, they would die immediately. The strength of the Skystar sect and the Heaven-Shaking sect was actually not much different. It was not easy for these 2 forces to determine a winner. At this time, Ji Yufei wanted to eat some meat and drink some wine, but he was disturbed. The deputy leader of the Heaven-Shaking sect, Xu Zhen, was really unlucky. He actually encountered Ji Yufei. Then, this guy was unlucky. He had no choice but to be unlucky. Xu Bie was dumbfounded as he watched his giant axe being crushed by Ji Yufei with his bare hands. This guy could not be arrogant anymore. Not only could he not be arrogant, but he was also so scared that he almost peed his pants. Who is this guy? He actually crushed a divine tool with his bare hands. This is a divine tool that I obtained with great difficulty, but it was actually crushed. Who the hell are you? Even Xu Zhen's voice was trembling. He was truly frightened. You don't have the right to know who I am. If you want to live, cut your flesh and pour me some wine. Ji Yufei said indifferently. Yes, Xu Bie hurried over. He took out a small knife and carefully cut off the roasted meat on the grill piece by piece. He took out a small plate out of nowhere and placed the meat on the plate, then carefully placed it in front of Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei used the knife in his hand to pick up the roasted meat on the plate and threw it into his mouth. At this time, Xu Zhen's forehead was covered with beads of sweat. He was extremely nervous. If Ji Yufei was unhappy, he would be finished. If others were to see the deputy sect master of the Heaven-Shaking sect serving Ji Yufei like a servant, they would probably be so shocked that their eyeballs would fall off. While Xu Bie was serving Ji Yufei wine and meat, the people from the Heavenly Star sect and the Heaven-Shaking sect were still locked in a fierce battle. Xu Bie, you bastard. Where the hell are you? The sect master of the Heaven-Shaking sect, Xu Zhen, was both shocked and angry. What is this guy doing? The reason why the Heaven-Shaking sect dared to attack the Heavenly Star sect was because the deputy sect master, Xu Bie, had finally reached the godly state. The Heaven-Shaking sect had 2 godly state experts, which was why they were so confident. As for the Heavenly Star sect, only the sect master, Wang Tianxing, was at the godly state. Xu Zhen could fight Wang Tianxing to a draw. If Xu Bie, who was at the godly state, joined forces, they would be able to kill Wang Tianxing and destroy the Heavenly Star sect. The 3 mines of the Heavenly Star sect would then belong to the Heaven-Shaking sect. However, Xu Zhen would never have imagined that Xu Bie was currently waiting on Ji Yufei at an inconspicuous place within the Skystar sect's mountain gate, drinking wine and eating meat. Deputy Sect Master, the Sect Master is looking for you. At that moment, a few members of the Heaven-Shaking sect finally found Xu Bie. However, in the next moment, they were stunned by the scene before them. What's going on? What did I see? The Deputy Sect Master actually. The members of the Heaven-Shaking sect were immediately dumbfounded. The Vice Sect Master was actually acting like a servant, carefully pouring wine for a black-clothed youth. Then, he carefully cut off the roasted meat on the grill and carefully placed a small plate in front of the black-clothed youth. The few people from the Heaven-Shaking sect were completely dumbfounded. It couldn't be helped. The scene before them was too unbelievable for the people of the Heaven-Shaking sect. All of you, get lost. Shu Ba shouted at the people from the heaven-shaking sect. The people from the heaven-shaking sect were really shocked. Why are you still here? Shu Ba's eyes were filled with ferocity, as if he was going to kill these people. Yes, we will get lost immediately. All the disciples from the heaven-shaking sect knew that the deputy sect master had a fiery temper. If they angered him, they would end up in a miserable state. The few disciples from the heaven-shaking sect were so scared that they scrambled and ran away. Shu Ba, you bastard. Soon, Shu Zhen's voice came down from the mountain. It seemed that those people had bought him out, which made Shu Ba very unhappy. At this moment, the battle between the two divine realm experts was gradually moving towards where Ji Yufei was. Sigh. I want to drink some wine and eat some meat in peace, but I can't. Ji Yufei sighed helplessly. Shu Ba, on the other hand, was shocked. Shu Ba, what the hell are you doing? Shu Zhen came and saw Shu Ba standing next to a young man in black like a servant. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Haha, when did the deputy sect master of the heaven-shaking sect become the servant of a little kid? Wang Tianxing laughed heartily when he saw this scene. Be my servant. He is not qualified. Ji Yufei said indifferently. How arrogant. Do you think you are an invincible emperor? Wang Tianxing sneered. Why are you guys not fighting? Ji Yufei said. These people actually stopped. Shu Ba, come over here. Shu Zhen roared at Shu Ba. Big brother, Shu Ba was extremely anxious. Once they angered this deity, they would definitely not be able to bear the consequences. Their lives could be taken by this guy at any time. You bastard, you don't even listen to me anymore. Shu Zhen really wanted to beat Shu Ba up. No, big brother, Shu Ba kept winking at Shu Zhen, his forehead full of sweat. However, Shu Zhen did not know what his brother was doing. Was he afraid of this young man in black? Who are you? Chapter 5038. You don't have the right to know who I am. Ji Yufei said calmly. The deputy sect leader of the Shaking Sky sect, the hot-tempered Shu Ba, was now as docile as a kitten, carefully serving the young man in black. This scene stunned Shu Zhen, the sect leader of the Shaking Sky sect, and Wang Tianxing, the sect leader of the Sky Star sect, as well. This guy was Shu Ba. Shu Ba was quite famous in the Falling Star mountain range because he was vicious, merciless, and incomparably violent. He would start a fight at the slightest disagreement. It was unknown how many people had died to his pair of giant axes. You said that I don't have the right to know who you are. Wang Tianxing was almost driven mad by Ji Yufei's words. Do you know who I am? Wang Tianxing glared at Ji Yufei and said. I don't care who you are. Get lost now, or else I will throw you down the mountain. Ji Yufei said disapprovingly. Wang Tianxing was shocked and angry, but he did not leave, nor did he make a move. Second brother, come back now. Haven't you embarrassed yourself enough? Shu Zhen roared at Shu Ba. Big brother, Shu Ba was shocked and scared. He looked at Ji Yufei carefully. Continue. Ji Yufei said calmly. Yes. Shu Ba quickly cut another plate of barbecued meat and brought it to Ji Yufei. At this moment, the people of the Sky Star sect and the Sky Shaking sect rushed towards the two sect leaders. While the two sect masters were facing off against each other, there was a bonfire between them, barbecuing meat. A black-clad youngster was leisurely enjoying the service of Heavenly Quake sect's vice sect master, Shu Ba. Shu Ba was holding a small plate respectfully. The young man in black was using a small knife to pick up the barbecued meat and was eating it with relish. The aroma of meat and wine filled the air. The stomachs of the disciples of the Sky Star sect and the Sky Shaking sect were growling. This was especially so for the disciples of the Heaven Shaking sect. They were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped to the ground. When did the usually overbearing and arrogant vice sect leader Shu Ba change? The tall and ferocious-looking Shu Ba, who had a full beard, looked very fierce. Even if he did not attack, just by standing there, he would be able to frighten many people. But now, Shu Ba was like a servant trying to please his master. He was nodding and bowing in front of the black-clothed young man like a slave. Fellow Daoist Gu. At this time, the Heavenly Star Sect's disciple, Feng Chen, walked out from the crowd. When he saw this scene, he was so shocked that his eyeballs almost fell to the ground. Come. The meat test is done, and the wine has been unsealed. Come, drink and eat. Why are you fighting? Jiu Fei said to Feng Chen. When Feng Chen heard this, he was dumbfounded. The Heavenly Star Sect was about to be annihilated. How could he still be in the mood to eat and drink? The others were also speechless. I don't care who you are. This is a grudge between my Heavenly Star Sect and the Heaven-Shaking Sect. I hope you won't interfere. Kill them. The Heavenly Star Sect's leader, Wang Tianxing, shouted. With a wave of his right hand, the Heavenly Star Sect's cultivators behind him immediately charged towards the people of the Heaven-Shaking Sect. Kill. The Heaven-Shaking Sect's leader, Xu Zhen, also shouted. He led his disciples and charged towards the Heavenly Star Sect's leader. Sigh. Jiu Fei sighed. In the next moment, he put down the knife in his right hand and snapped his fingers. Bam! Bam! 2 dull sounds were heard. In the next moment, the 2 sect leaders, Wang Tianxing and Xu Zhen, slammed into an invisible wall. Their entire bodies were lying in the void and then they slid to the ground. Neither of these 2 fellows expected that there was actually an invisible layer between them. When they bumped into it, their heads immediately started bleeding. The people on both sides could not stop their momentum. Many of them slammed into the wall in the void. Some had their noses broken, while others had their front teeth knocked out. Someone had a huge bump on his forehead. Even Wang Tianxing and Xu Zhen cried out in pain. Be it the people from the Heavenly Star Sect or the Heaven-Shaking Sect, they were all dumbfounded. Seeing this scene, Xu Ba, the deputy sect leader of the Heaven-Shaking Sect, was so shocked that his hand trembled. The plate in his hand fell to the ground and shattered. I told you to scram, so scram. I don't mind sending anyone else to hell. Jiu Fei said calmly. What? Wang Tianxing and Xu Zhen were shocked. This guy, both of them were shocked to the extreme. Just what was the background of this black-clothed youth? He actually stopped a great battle between them with a casual sound of his whistle. Sir. Senior, please forgive us for offending you. Xu Zhen finally understood why his second brother was so respectful to this young man in black. It turned out that this inconspicuous young man was actually a super expert. Senior, we failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please don't take offense. Wang Tianxing could not help but lower his head. His forehead was full of sweat. Scram. Jiu Fei roared. Yes. The 2 of them hurriedly led their disciples away. Wait. The 2 of them stopped in their tracks and turned to look at Jiu Fei in fear. Could it be that this senior had changed his mind? Then they were dead meat. The 2 of them were so scared that their legs turned to jelly. Do you have some treasure here? Jiu Fei said in a low voice. What, treasure? Wang Tianxing and Xu Zhen looked at each other. Their eyes flickered. Don't try to lie to me. Otherwise, you will suffer. Jiu Fei grabbed the wine jar beside him and took a big gulp. Actually, when he arrived at the Heavenly Star Sect, he felt that the aura of the mountain where the Heavenly Star Sect was located was not right. This aura was very obscure. Even a divine king would not be able to sense it. However, Jiu Fei was not a divine king. He was a legendary transcendent emperor in the Void Realm. Xu Zhen hesitated. Senior, this is only a legend. No peerless spiritual treasure has ever appeared here. Wang Tianxing said carefully. Legend has it that there is a peerless spiritual treasure here? Jiu Fei's eyes lit up. Wasn't he looking for divine materials to forge a weapon? If he could obtain the peerless spiritual treasure here, wouldn't he have the materials to forge a weapon? Tell me in detail. Jiu Fei said calmly. According to Wang Tianxing, in ancient times, a meteorite fell from the sky. The meteorite landed on the meteorite mountain range. The entire meteorite mountain range was formed from the meteorite that fell from the sky. Legend had it that a 9 heaven spiritual treasure fell along with the meteorite. At that time, Countless experts from the 5 regions gathered to search for that peerless spiritual treasure. However, countless years had passed. No one had seen any peerless spiritual treasure. There were only legends about it. Interesting. Chapter 5039. The meteorite mountain range was a barren land. Originally, it had some value. Because of the meteorite iron, it had attracted the attention of the major factions in Zhongtian. However, as the meteorite iron in the meteorite mountain range was mined, it became a place abandoned by the major factions. However, to the small factions, the waste ores were the capital to survive. The major factions in Zhongtian looked down on the waste ores. However, the waste ores also contained meteorite iron. Of course, the amount of meteorite iron in the waste ores was very low. Wanting to refine the meteoric iron from these waste ores was a very time-consuming process, and the various large powers of Center Sky would not do such a laborious thing without any benefits. Hence, ever since the major factions in Zhongtian retreated from the meteorite mountain range, it became a paradise for the small factions. There were at least a dozen small factions like the Sky Star sect and the Heaven Shaking sect in the meteorite mountain range. The Sky Star sect and the Heaven Shaking sect were not the strongest factions. In the meteorite mountain range, the strongest faction was the Star sect. At this time, the mountain gate of Starlight sect was ablaze, but the mountain was terrifyingly quiet. Everyone gathered in an inconspicuous place in the mountain gate. The 2 big sects, which were like fire and water, actually did not fight anymore. The leaders of the 2 factions were so scared by a young man in black that their faces turned pale. They trembled and almost knelt down. "All right, all of you scram. Feng Chen, you stay. You scram too," Ji Yufei said to Xu Ba. "Yes, yes, yes. I will scram immediately." Hearing this, Xu Ba was overjoyed. After bowing to Ji Yufei, he immediately turned around and dashed out of the Sky Star sect. The others quickly retreated as well. They were all afraid of angering the mysterious and powerful young man in black. Even in Feng Chen's wildest dreams, he would have never imagined that the battered youth he met in the meteorite mountain range was actually a peerless expert. Even his sect master, Wang Tianxing, was trembling with fear in front of this youth. As such, Feng Chen and the others were not as open in front of Ji Yufei. They were very reserved and spoke very carefully. This made Ji Yufei feel a little helpless. Getting to know each other is also fate. "These are for you." After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Ji Yufei threw a small jade bottle to Feng Chen and the others. Then, he soared into the sky and disappeared into the night. After seeing that Ji Yufei had left, Feng Chen uncorked the bottle and a fragrant aroma immediately filled the air. "Pills?" Feng Chen was shocked. This medicinal pill was actually an incomparably precious soul-shaping pill. Soul-shaping pill. It was something that countless cultivators in the Falling Star mountain range yearned for even in their dreams. After eating this divine transformation pill, they would have the opportunity to reach the God realm. That was the divine realm, an existence at the level of the sect master. In the meteorite mountain range, a divine realm expert was an absolute master. He was an existence that could do whatever he wanted. Feng Chen and the others were extremely excited. Ji Yufei had only given them 3 elixirs. Each of them carefully put away one. "I originally wanted to exterminate the Heavenly Star sect, but who would have thought that I would meet such a monster?" At this moment, the sect master of the Heavenly Shaking sect led his group of subordinates back to his sect unwillingly. All his plans were ruined by the sudden appearance of a black-robed young man. "Big brother, are you trying to get us killed?" Xu Ba looked around in fear. If those words were heard by that pervert, they would be finished. "You coward." Xu Zhen was really speechless. He never thought that his usually hot-tempered and overbearing younger brother would be so frightened by a black-robed young man. "Big brother, you are not a coward. You are awesome." "All right," Xu Ba scolded. After leaving Ji Yufei, he immediately regained his usual temperament. "You still dare to talk back?" Xu Zhen stretched out his hand and slapped the back of this guy's head. "Big brother," Xu Ba stared at his big brother angrily. Why did he bow and scrape in front of Ji Yufei? If he angered that malefic person, They would probably be dead by now. What is the background of that person? Xu Zhen's expression was extremely solemn. That person was really too strong. With a snap of his fingers, he had stopped their battle with the Skystar sect. It was really too terrifying. You ask me? Who should I ask? Xu Bie said angrily. Hurry up and leave. I don't want to come back here for the rest of my life. Xu Bie did not wait for Xu Zhen to speak. He directly soared into the sky and disappeared under the night sky. Xu Zhen was speechless. It seemed like this fearless second brother of his had really been scared out of his wits by that mysterious young man. Actually, the people from the Skystar sect were the same. Wang Tianxing brought his people back to the sect's main hall at the peak of the Skystar sect. Wang Tianxing sat on the throne in the middle of the main hall. The main hall was filled with the upper echelons of the Skystar sect. Who can tell me what exactly happened? Wang Tianxing swept his gaze across the people in the main hall. His expression was extremely ugly. He had never been in such a sorry state before. There was even a huge bump on his forehead. No one in the main hall dared to make a sound. Who knew where that black-robed young man had come from? A bunch of good-for-nothings. Wang Tianxing said angrily. A powerful pressure immediately erupted from his body. The people in the main hall instantly trembled in fear. At this moment, Ji Yufei had already arrived high up in the sky. He sat cross-legged in the void and carefully sensed the aura of this part of the world. Hey! It can actually leave. Ji Yufei was a little surprised. This was because he sensed that the obscure aura had actually changed its position and was no longer in its original position. Could it be that the spiritual treasure has already developed intelligence? When Ji Yufei thought of this, he was a little surprised. A spiritual treasure that could develop intelligence would definitely not be weak. However, it was a little difficult to deal with now. This was because his cultivation had been sealed by the girl from the Ling Tian Palace. It would take a few days to completely remove the seal. Ji Yufei also knew that the girl from the Ling Tian Palace had sealed his cultivation just to disgust him. I'll let you stay here for a few more days. After sensing for a while, Ji Yufei directly flew towards the place where the spiritual energy in the meteorite mountain range was gathered. The spiritual energy in the meteorite mountain range was too thin. There were only 2 or 3 places with barely enough spiritual energy. Of course, in Ji Yufei's eyes, these places were also trash. Soon, he saw a towering mountain in front of him. The mountain was shrouded in mist, and it looked rather celestial. When he got closer, the scenery here was also not bad. This was actually a stronghold set up by a large sect in the meteorite mountain range. Of course, the people from that large sect had already evacuated. Then, this place was occupied by a sect called the Star Sect. The people from the Star Sect had never expected that their sect had already been targeted by a malefic existence. Chapter 50-40. The Star Sect was the strongest sect in the meteorite mountain range. The other forces were like little brothers in front of the Star Sect. Almost half of the mines in the meteorite mountain range were controlled by the Star Sect. Moreover, the Star Sect's mines were also the best mines in the meteorite mountain range. It was very peaceful on Star Mountain. There were pavilions on the mountain, and people could be seen walking on the mountain path from time to time. At the foot of the mountain was the entrance to Star Mountain. There was a tall decorated archway here, and it was the only way to go up the mountain. Everyone who came to visit the mountain would enter the mountain from here. However, there were some people who did not take the usual path, and Ji Yufei was one of them. However, taking the unusual path would often lead to bad luck. Ji Yufei flew in the air, admiring the surrounding scenery along the way. Just as he was about to reach the mountain that he had his eyes on, he suddenly collided with an invisible force field in the void with a bang. F***CK. Ji Yufei's entire body was stuck to the force field, and he slid down to the ground. If that girl from Ling Tian Palace saw this, she would definitely laugh until her stomach hurt. The arrogant Ji Yufei actually had such a pathetic moment. I was careless. Ji Yufei was extremely depressed. He did not expect that there would be a formation here at all. How could there be a mountain-protecting formation in this godforsaken place? He slid down from the sky and fell to the ground. He did not want to move at all. Who the F***ck has nothing better to do and came all the way here to set up a formation? Gu Fei was speechless. Who would lay down such a huge formation to envelop the entire mountain in such a desolate place? This was an extravagant effort, and not something an ordinary person could do. Ha ha! Suddenly, a burst of laughter that sounded like silver bells was heard. Gu Fei smelled a fragrant breeze and a purple-clothed woman appeared beside him. She was holding her belly and laughing. What are you laughing at? Have you never seen a handsome man before? Gu Fei shook his head and flung his messy hair to the back of his head. Then, he stood up unhurriedly and sized up the woman in purple. You're a handsome man. Stop teasing me. The purple-clothed woman crossed her arms and looked at him in disdain. Who are you? It's not safe for a little girl to walk around alone. Didn't your parents teach you? Gu Fei curled his lips. Who am I? I won't tell you. Yes, it's not safe in the mountains, but for me, the Stellar Mountain is the safest place. The purple-clothed woman said proudly. She wasn't that old, and her face was covered, revealing a pair of large jet-black eyes that were filled with intelligence. At first glance, Gu Fei knew that this girl was a mischievous person, just like his newly accepted disciple, Princess Xiaoju of the West Sea Dragon clan. Moreover, to Gu Fei's surprise, this purple-clothed girl turned out to be a divine realm expert. Such a young divine realm expert was very rare in the meteorite mountain range. The heaven and earthling chi here was simply too thin, far thinner than the heaven and earthling chi in the other regions of Middle Sky. Everyone knew that cultivators needed to absorb and refine the heaven and earthling chi in order to cultivate. Where the heaven and earthling chi was thin, there wouldn't be any powerful creatures at all. Oh, I didn't know that you've actually cultivated to the divine realm. Gu Fei looked at the purple-clothed woman from head to toe. What did you call me? Little girl? The purple-clothed woman was instantly annoyed. She put her hands on her waist and stared at Gu Fei fiercely. Isn't that so? You're just a silly little girl. Gu Fei said disdainfully. You, the purple-clothed woman was even more furious. All right, ask your parents to come out and talk to me. I want to go into the mountain. Gu Fei said impatiently. You want to go into the mountain? The purple-clothed woman's big eyes immediately revealed a sly look when she heard this. I've observed the entire meteorite mountain range, and the spirit chi here is not bad, so I want to cultivate here for a few days. Gu Fei said seriously. Haha, this is too funny. The purple-clothed woman laughed out loud. Is it really that funny? Gu Fei was speechless. Do you know what this place is? The purple-clothed woman laughed for a while before stopping and saying. What place? Gu Fei asked curiously. Prick up your ears and listen carefully. This is Star Mountain, the place where the Star Sect is located. The Star Sect is the strongest sect in the entire meteorite mountain range. The purple-clothed woman stared at Gu Fei and said seriously. If others knew that the purple-clothed woman dared to say such words to Gu Fei, their jaws would definitely drop. Gu Fei was the #1 god of killing in Nanman. Even the barbaric emperor died in his hands. He was also the only person in the entire Void Realm who dared to fight with the Ling Qian Palace Master and was not killed by him. In the eyes of the powerhouses in Nanman and the high and mighty upper echelons of Ling Qian Palace, Gu Fei was simply amazing. Star Sect. Gu Fei tilted his head and thought about it. Haha, are you afraid now? Are you scared out of your wits? The purple-clothed woman said proudly. Never heard of it. Gu Fei said. The proud purple-clothed woman staggered and almost fell. What? You haven't even heard of the Star Sect? The purple-clothed woman looked at Gu Fei as if he was a monster. Star Sect. There was actually someone in the meteorite mountain range who hadn't heard of the Star Sect. How was that possible? Unless this guy wasn't from the meteorite mountain range. You're not from the meteorite mountain range? The purple-clothed woman exclaimed. You're not that stupid either. Gu Fei gave the purple-clothed woman a thumbs up. Who exactly are you? The purple-clothed woman stared at Gu Fei and said in a deep voice. She could do whatever she wanted in the meteorite mountain range, but she couldn't after leaving the meteorite mountain range. That was because the true rulers of Middle Heaven were the Buddhist ancestor and the heavenly clan, followed by the various top forces that were second only to the Buddhist ancestor and the heavenly clan. In the eyes of those top forces, the star sect was not worth mentioning at all. "Who am I? I won't tell you either," Ji Fei said proudly. "How dare you?" The purple-clothed girl immediately made her move. She threw a punch at Ji Fei, and a ball of dazzling light appeared on her fist. Hee. Ji Fei stretched out his right hand and pointed at the purple-clothed young man's fist. What? The purple-clothed girl was shocked. Her opponent had actually blocked her fist with just a single finger. How was that possible? Damn it. The purple-clothed woman retracted her fist. In the next moment, she leaped up from the ground and swept her right foot at Ji Fei's head at lightning speed. Ji Fei raised his right hand and placed his forearm in front of his head. Bam! A dull thud was heard. Ji Fei was as still as a mountain, but the purple-clothed woman hugged her right leg and screamed. It was so painful that tears came out of her eyes. The purple-clothed woman felt as if she had kicked a piece of divine metal, and even her bones seemed to have been diagnosed. "I'll stand right here. If you can make me move a step, you can do whatever you want. How about that?" Ji Fei said with a smile. "What did you say?" The purple-clothed woman's eyes lit up. "Are you telling the truth?" The purple-clothed woman stared at Ji Fei and said, "Of course, but what if you lose?" Ji Fei said proudly, "I'll lose. If I lose, you can do whatever you want to me." The purple-clothed woman gritted her teeth. "All right, it's a deal." Chapter 50-41. Ji Fei stood on the ground and allowed the purple-clothed girl to attack. He only used one hand to block all of her attacks. How is this possible? The purple-clothed girl was shocked and furious, and her attacks became even more ferocious. Whirlwind sweeping fallen leaves. The purple-clothed girl twisted her waist and started spinning. In the next moment, her leg swept towards Ji Fei like a gust of wind. It was just a warm-up just now. Now, the purple-clothed girl had no choice but to get serious. A powerful energy fluctuation spread out from the forest. As a result, sand and rocks flew in the forest, and the sun and moon lost their light. Then, it inevitably alarmed the people from Star Sect because this place was not very far from the Star Sect's mountain gate. Soon, many figures appeared around them. These people were all watching from afar. Before they could see the situation clearly, they were all very careful. In the meteorite mountain range, anything could happen. If one offended an existence that they couldn't afford to offend, the outcome would be tragic. Moreover, this was Star Sect's territory. At this moment, the purple-clothed girl's fierce attack was still unable to force Ji Fei to move a single step. Instead, she was panting and sweating profusely. The purple-clothed girl shouted and leaped back, instantly widening the distance between her and Ji Fei. "What's wrong? Come on, let's continue," Ji Fei said proudly as he hooked his finger at the purple-clothed girl. "All right, let's continue." The purple-clothed girl suddenly smiled. Then, she actually stopped attacking. Instead, she picked up a large bundle of withered branches and threw them around Ji Fei. "What are you trying to do?" Ji Fei was displeased. This girl was starting to cause trouble. "Anyway, as long as I force you to move your feet, you'll lose, right?" The purple-clothed girl smiled. Ji Fei pretended to be shocked and angry. Haha, seeing Ji Fei being defeated, the purple-clothed girl laughed happily. "I'll give you a chance. Admit defeat, haha." The purple-clothed girl was very proud. "You want me to admit defeat? Dream on." Ji Fei raised his middle finger at the purple-clothed girl. "Me." The purple-clothed girl sneered. She gritted her teeth and ignited the fire. Soon, the raging fire engulfed Ji Fei. Sigh. Just then, a sigh came from the sea of fire. Then, a cold aura burst out from the sea of fire. The raging flames were extinguished in an instant. Moreover, they were completely extinguished. Not even a spark or a wisp of smoke could be seen. That was because the burning firewood had been frozen in an instant. This The purple-clothed girl was dumbfounded. "All right, I'll be my attendant for a few days," Ji Fei said proudly. "How dare you? You want our junior sister to be your follower? Are you courting death?" At this moment, a loud shout rang out and a figure descended from the sky. A young man dressed in white landed on the ground and stared at Ji Fei viciously. "Why are you here? It's none of your business." The purple-clothed girl was displeased when she saw who it was. "Junior sister, what are you talking about? Big senior brother is your fiancé. How can he not care about your business?" Another figure descended from the sky and stood behind the young man in white. He then shouted at the purple-clothed girl. "Gao Rong, shut up." The purple-clothed girl was even more furious when she saw that person. When Ji Fei saw this, he immediately understood. There must be a story between these people. Could it be that one of them wanted to marry but the other didn't? There was a high chance that Ji Fei would be implicated in this matter. As an outsider, he was destined to be used and treated as a sucker. "Hey, lass. What happened between the two of you has nothing to do with me. How about we call off our bet?" Ji Fei did not want to care about such trivial matters. Hee. The purple-clothed girl suddenly stared at Ji Fei with a sly look in her eyes. When Ji Fei saw the purple-clothed girl's expression, his heart skipped a beat. This girl is going to start causing trouble. What bet? When the young man in white heard that, he immediately looked at Ji Fei. He narrowed his eyes and a glint flickered under his eyelids. He also saw that Ji Fei was actually surrounded by frozen firewood. This made him frown even more. Where did this guy come from? Why is he here? There's no bet. It's just that if I lose, I'll have to marry this guy. The purple-clothed girl said casually. Ji Fei thought to himself, here it comes. This girl is really going to cause trouble. What? When the eldest senior brother heard that, his face immediately darkened. A cold killing intent erupted from his body as he directly wanted to kill Ji Fei. "Little junior sister, aren't you messing around?" The young man called Gao Rong sneered. "You're the Star Sect's little junior sister. Your every word and action represents the Star Sect's face. Do you want to go to the back of the mountain to reflect on your mistakes?" The eldest senior brother was almost going crazy. "Me. I've already said that I'll make the decision. I'll find my own husband. You want to marry me? And then become the sect master of the Star Sect? Dream on." The purple-clothed girl said coldly. What's going on? Ji Fei, on the other hand, was confused. Could it be that this little girl was actually the daughter of that Star Sect's sect master? If this so-called eldest senior brother wanted to become the sect master, then he had to marry the sect master's daughter. This was definitely a shortcut to becoming the next sect master. "Hey, brat, stop daydreaming. I admit defeat. I'm yours now. Do as you see fit," the purple-clothed girl said to Ji Fei. When Ji Fei heard that, sweat broke out on his forehead. This girl is too despicable. I've never seen someone who attracts hatred like this. Now that she said that, wouldn't that eldest senior brother hate me to death? Sure enough, the two brothers opposite him glared at Ji Fei. If looks could kill, Ji Fei would have died countless times. "Why don't you marry your eldest senior brother?" Ji Fei said with a smile. "What did you say?" The purple-clothed girl immediately put her hands on her hips and glared at Ji Fei fiercely. "At least you know what's good for you." When the eldest senior brother heard that, the murderous aura on his body weakened significantly. "I'm just joking," Ji Fei said again. "How dare you trick me?" The eldest senior brother glared and flew into a rage. "Why? Can't I take it?" Ji Fei said coldly. "You're courting death." The young man called Gao Rong roared and walked out from behind the eldest senior brother. With a flip of his right hand, a black whip appeared in his hand. "Pa!" Gao Rong shook the long whip in his hand and the air exploded with a sonic boom. "Be careful. This senior brother of mine is famous for being ruthless. He'll strangle someone to death with a whip if he doesn't agree with him." The purple-clothed girl retreated behind Ji Fei. "Is that so?" Chapter 5042. The star sect was the strongest sect in the falling star mountain range. It was an overlord. In the past 100 years, no one had ever dared to cause trouble outside the star sect. There were many godly state powerhouses in the star sect. Sect Master Qi Zhunshan was a half-step divine king, the strongest expert in the falling star mountain range. His daughter, Qi Feiya, was also a god realm expert. Moreover, Qi Zhunshan had accepted 5 disciples. The eldest disciple, Mo Feng, was also at the divine realm, and the third disciple, Jiao Rong, was at the half-step divine realm. Among Qi Zhunshan's 5 disciples, Wind Void was the closest to Jiao Rong. When Jiao Rong saw that Ji Yufei dared to play around with his eldest senior brother, he immediately made his move. With a wave of the whip in his hand, the whip immediately coiled around Ji Yufei's neck like a poisonous snake. Be careful. Qi Feiya immediately dodged to the side. Ji Yufei stretched out his right hand, and the long whip wrapped around his arm. Swoosh. Suddenly, countless sharp crescent-shaped blades emerged from the yang whip. Break. Jiao Rong exerted force with his right hand, wanting to tear off Ji Yufei's right arm. However, he only felt his hand sink. The incomparably sharp blade on the whip had only cut the sleeve of this guy's arm. It could not hurt this guy at all. How is this possible? When Jiao Rong saw this scene, he could not help but be shocked. At this time, Ji Yufei turned his hand and grabbed the whip that was wrapped around his arm. Then, he pulled it out forcefully. Jiao Rong felt a jolt in his hand, and the whip in his hand was pulled away by the other party. His palm felt hot. When the eldest disciple of Star Sect saw that, a gleam flashed through his eyes. You actually managed to cultivate the invincible Vajra body? Qi Feiya exclaimed in shock. Invincible Vajra? When Wind Void heard this, she couldn't help but be slightly moved. Could it be that this fellow is also a deity realm expert? It seemed that he had underestimated this fellow. This whip is not bad. No wonder it can wrap around people's necks. Ji Yufei fiddled with the whip. This thing was somewhat interesting. As long as he infused his essence into the whip, a crescent moon-shaped blade would appear on the whip. When he retracted his quintessential essence, the blade on the whip would shrink back. I don't think anyone who's been wrapped around by your whip will be able to live. Ji Yufei stared coldly at the guy in front of him. Hearing this, Jiao Rong was both shocked and furious. Swoosh. Ji Yufei suddenly made his move. The whip was like a black bolt of lightning, instantly wrapping around Jiao Rong's neck. What? Jiao Rong's shock was no small matter. Say, do you think you can keep your head if I pull hard now? Ji Yufei laughed as he tightened his grip on the whip. Ji Yufei's action scared Jiao Rong out of his wits. Spare me, great hero, spare me. Jiao Rong immediately knelt down. No one knew the power of the whip better than him. If he was wrapped around by the whip, even if he had 10 heads, he would still be dead. Can't you have some backbone? When Wind Void saw how cowardly Jiao Rong was, she also felt ashamed. Eldest senior brother, you really don't feel any pain. Is your backbone more important than your life? Jiao Rong only wanted to live because his life was in the hands of the other party. If the other party pulled hard, his head would be removed. He didn't want to die. Let him go. Wind Void stared at Ji Yufei and said coldly. Me. Do you think I'll let him go just because you say so? Ji Yufei sneered. If you don't want to die, do as I say. Wind Void's voice became even colder. What if I want to die? Do you have the ability to kill me? Ji Yufei said disapprovingly. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. As Wind Void spoke, she took out a weapon. It was a rare weapon. It was a palm-sized silver ring. Be careful, this guy's flying ring is very powerful. The purple-clothed girl reminded Ji Yufei. TSK, a man playing with a girl's things. Don't you feel ashamed? Ji Yufei said in disdain. What did you say? Wind Void was furious and was about to attack. Do you really not care about your junior brother's life? Ji Yufei sneered. Eldest senior brother, don't be rash. Jiao Rong felt the whip around his neck tighten, and he almost peed his pants. How about this? If you want to save your junior brother, kneel and kowtow to me, and I'll let him go. How about that? Ji Yufei said calmly. What did you say? You want me to kneel and kowtow to you? Wind Void grinned. He was the eldest senior brother of the Star Sect, and he had only kowtowed to his master in his life. I say, hero, can you change the condition? Gao Rong said to Ji Yufei carefully with a bitter smile. He did not think that Wind Void would kneel to Ji Yufei to save him because he knew very well that his eldest senior brother was such a proud person. How could he be threatened to kneel and kowtow? Even the purple-clothed girl, Chi Fei, looked at Wind Void curiously. She also wanted to know if Wind Void would kneel and kowtow to this guy for the sake of his fellow disciple. At this moment, many figures appeared nearby, and some people were watching from afar. Junior brother, I'm sorry. Wind Void only fell silent for a while before he made his decision. Don't, senior brother. Gao Rong was so scared that he almost fell to the ground. Sigh, I didn't expect your eldest senior brother to treat you like this. He doesn't care about your life at all. Ji Yufei shook his head and sighed. Gao Rong's face was ashen. Wind Void, how can you do this? Chi Fei could not help but shout at Wind Void. This guy really doesn't care about his fellow disciple's life. What right does he have to be the eldest senior brother of the Star Sect? Junior brother, if you die, I'll avenge you. Wind Void said coldly. Wind Void, to think that I treated you like an elder brother. Is this how you treat me? At this moment, Gao Rong hated Wind Void to the core. He was about to die, but he could not care less. He immediately started cursing at Wind Void. Die, brat. Wind Void said as he waved his right hand. The flying hoop in his hand immediately turned into a silver ray of light that shot toward Ji Yufei at an extremely fast speed. Ha ha, Ji Yufei stretched out his left hand and flicked his finger, sending the flying hoop flying. Bam! The silver flying hoop directly hit a tree next to Wind Void. The tree that was so thick that it would take several people to wrap their arms around it was directly broken. The huge tree fell from the sky, and the forest was in chaos. What? The fact that Ji Yufei had sent Wind Void's flying hoop flying shocked Wind Void. At this moment, Wind Void realized that he had severely underestimated this guy. Ji Yufei did not kill Gao Rong. He shook his whip and threw Gao Rong away. Then, a black shadow wrapped around Wind Void like a venomous snake. Wind Void quickly dodged and at the same time, retrieved the flying hoop that Ji Yufei had sent flying. Hum. The flying hoop vibrated and actually split into countless silver rays that protected Wind Void. The extremely agile whip in Ji Yufei's hand was blocked by the silver light formed by the flying hoop. Interesting. Chapter 5043. The cultivation base of the people from Star Sect was not high, but they were very arrogant, especially the eldest senior brother of Star Sect. He was even more arrogant and proud. However, he did not expect that the young man in black before him was Ji Yufei, who had single-handedly ignited the Southern Wilderness War. If he knew that the young man in black was Ji Yufei, he would have probably wet his pants long ago. He would not dare to be arrogant in front of Ji Yufei. However, it was precisely because the eldest senior brother of Star Sect, Mo Feng, did not know Ji Yufei's identity that Ji Yufei could have fun. To him, it was very interesting. Mo Feng's flying hoop was very good. The silver hoop turned into countless silver lights that enveloped his entire body, and his defense was impregnable. Ji Yufei shook the whip in his hand. Pa! An explosion sounded in the air. In the next moment, the whip in Ji Yufei's hand turned into countless black shadows that lashed at Mo Feng. However, all the whip shadows were blocked by Mo Feng's silver hoop. Mph, you're just a little stronger. How can you be a match for my Star Sect's divinity? Mo Feng sneered. Is that so? Ji Yufei put away his whip, and the whip shadows that filled the sky immediately disappeared. In the next moment, he took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of Mo Feng. Eat my punch! Ji Yufei clenched his right fist and directly punched at the ball of light that Mo Feng's flying hoop had transformed into. Be careful. Chi Fei hurriedly reminded him. She knew the power of Mo Feng's flying hoop very well. Many people directly punched the silver ball of light that Mo Feng's flying hoop had transformed into like Ji Yufei. Then Their right hands were cut off. "I'll break your palm." Mo Feng's extremely arrogant voice was heard. However, in the next moment, Ji Yufei's punch directly hit the silver ball of light around Mo Feng. It directly penetrated the silver ball of light and smashed into Mo Feng's chest. The dull sound of a crash was accompanied by a scream of pain. Wind Void was sent flying by Ji Yufei's punch and crashed into the forest. This guy crashed into the forest all the way. Everywhere he passed, whether it was a towering tree or a small tree the size of a wrist, they were all directly broken. The forest was immediately thrown into chaos. "How is this possible?" Gao Rong, who was watching from the side, widened his eyes. His eyeballs were about to fall out. He might hate Wind Void to the core, but when he saw that Ji Yufei had sent her flying, he did not feel any sense of schadenfreude. Gao Rong was shocked. He was shocked to the extreme. He and Mo Feng used to be brothers, so no one knew better than him how high Mo Feng's cultivation was and how strong his battle prowess was. Even Mo Feng couldn't take a punch from this black-robed youth. Could this guy be a divine king who pretended to be weak? However, there were no god kings in the Meteorite Mountain Range. If a god king appeared in the Meteorite Mountain Range, it would definitely shake up the entire Meteorite Mountain Range. However, there was no god king in the Meteorite Mountain Range. The strongest existence in the Meteorite Mountain Range was the sect master of the Star Sect, Qi Zhunshan, who was a half-step god king. It was because of Qi Zhunshan that the Star Sect was able to become the overlord of the Meteorite Mountain Range, occupy the most valuable mines, and obtain the most valuable cultivation resources. In fact, no matter where he went, the truth that the strong were revered would never change. At this moment, Qi Fei also covered her mouth in shock. Her eyes were fixed on Ji Yufei, who was still in the posture of throwing a punch. "Why, am I handsome?" Ji Yufei looked at Qi Fei and said proudly. "Handsome?" Qi Fei said subconsciously. "Handsome my *SS. After regaining her senses, Qi Fei spoke up. Ji Yufei retracted his fist and said unhappily, "What a hypocritical little girl." Little girl? Qi Fei almost went crazy. "How dare this guy call me little girl?" Roar. Just when Qi Fei was about to explode, an angry roar came from the forest. In the next moment, a figure rushed out of the forest. "Go to hell." The person's clothes were tattered, and his chest was stained with blood. He had a ferocious expression on his face as he threw a punch at Ji Yufei. This person was the first senior brother of the Star Sect, Mo Feng, who was sent flying into the forest by Ji Yufei's punch earlier. His fist was like a meteorite as it smashed toward Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei shook his head helplessly. He casually stretched out his right hand and grabbed Mo Feng's fist. Mo Feng's shock was no small matter. Her opponent was like a mountain, and her punch could not even move his body in the slightest. Then, Mo Feng's entire body was sent flying. Ji Yufei grabbed his fist and spun him around. Then, Ji Yufei ruthlessly smashed him to the ground. Bam! The ground shook, and dust flew everywhere. A human-shaped pit immediately appeared on the ground. Qi Fei and Gao Rong were stunned when they saw this. It was as if they had turned into stone statues as they stared at the human-shaped pit on the ground with their mouths agape. You! Who are you?" Gao Rong asked in a trembling voice as he looked at Ji Yufei in horror after he regained his senses. Mo Feng was smashed to the ground by Ji Yufei. Even if he did not die, he would probably be crippled. "You don't have the right to know who I am," Ji Yufei said proudly with his hands behind his back. At this moment, Ji Yufei's image was incomparably lofty in Qi Fei's eyes. What? Gao Rong was even more shocked when he heard that. It seemed that this young man in black had a powerful background. The Void Realm's middle sky was the most prosperous area in the entire Void Realm. There was no lack of experts here. Could it be that they had hit the jackpot today? They actually encountered a legendary expert. As the direct disciple of the Star Sect's sect master, Gao Rong was naturally knowledgeable. "Hey, chick, hurry up and bring me into the mountain," Ji Yufei said loudly to Qi Fei. Qi Fei did not expect Ji Yufei to be so powerful that even her senior brother, Mo Feng, was beaten like a dog. "Aren't you going to lead the way?" Ji Yufei glanced at Qi Fei. Qi Fei pondered for a moment before saying, "All right." She walked directly toward the Star-Sex mountain gate. Ji Yufei followed behind her. Little junior sister, Gao Rong, looked at this scene in disbelief. Is little junior sister really going to bring this malefic person into the Star Sect? At this moment, a series of screams came from the human-shaped pit. "Tumphh, I didn't expect you to have such a day." Gao Rong sneered. He ignored Mo Feng and chased after the direction where Ji Yufei and the rest had disappeared. Right after Gao Ronggong left, a bloody hand suddenly stretched out from the human-shaped pit. At this moment, Qi Fei had already brought Ji Yufei to the Star-Sex mountain gate. Not bad. Chapter 5044. The Star-Sex mountain gate was the most majestic mountain gate in the meteorite mountain range. It had a tall archway, stone beasts that stood like small mountains on both sides, and the disciples guarding the mountain gate all had arrogant expressions on their faces. It was no wonder that even the Star Sect's disciples were so arrogant. The Star Sect was the overlord of the meteorite mountain range. So what if their disciples were a little arrogant? It was normal, okay? Where did this fellow come from? Get lost. Outside the mountain gate, a Star Sect disciple walked toward Ji Yufei and pointed at Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei's face darkened. In the next moment, he waved his right hand, and the disciple who was guarding the mountain gate immediately screamed and flew out. He crashed into a stone beast at the side and slid to the ground, unable to get up for a while. Upon seeing this sight, Qi Fei and Gao Rong, who were following behind Ji Yufei, were shocked. "How dare you? How dare you barge into our sect's mountain gate? Are you tired of living?" At this moment, 7 to 8 figures rushed out of the mountain gate. The person in the lead was a white-haired middle-aged man in white. "Senior Brother Tong, what's wrong?" A Star Sect disciple rushed toward the disciple who had fallen to the ground and helped him up. "This person wants to barge into the mountain." Senior Brother Tong stared at Ji Yufei and gritted his teeth. Ji Yufei did not kill him. Otherwise, this fellow would not have just been injured. "Go." As soon as the middle-aged man gave the order, the other disciples immediately rushed forward and surrounded Ji Yufei. Cold lights flashed as they pointed their weapons at Ji Yufei. "All of you, stand down." Just as the Star Sect disciples who were guarding the mountain gate were about to attack Ji Yufei, a loud shout was heard. The Star Sect's guardian elder turned around and was shocked to see a figure rushing over. Who else could it be but Qi Fei? Eldest young miss. The middle-aged man was stunned when he saw Qi Fei. Qi Fei was the Star Sect's little devil. Who in the Star Sect had not been fooled by this little devil before? Upon seeing that it was Qi Fei, the disciples guarding the mountain gate were so frightened that they nearly dropped their weapons and took a few steps back. "You came just in time." Ji Yufei glanced at Qi Fei with a smile. Although Qi Fei was the one who brought Ji Yufei to the Star Sect's mountain gate, Qi Fei and Gao Rong stopped at a distance and watched from afar. However, when Qi Fei saw that Ji Yufei was about to clash with the disciples guarding the mountain gate, she panicked. How could these disciples possibly be a match for Ji Yufei? Therefore, she could only jump out to stop them. "He's my friend," Qi Fei said to the guardian elder. "Friend?" The white-robed middle-aged man looked at Qi Fei, then at Ji Yufei, bewildered. "Wrong, I should say that I am your master," Ji Yufei said indifferently with his hands behind his back. "What?" The middle-aged man and the other Star Sect's disciples were shocked to the extreme. What did this guy say? His eldest young Mrs. Master? How preposterous. The people from the Star Sect glared at Ji Yufei angrily. Qi Fei was shocked and furious. How dare this guy reveal this matter? Isn't he just making enemies for himself? Isn't that so? Ji Yufei looked at Qi Fei and said with a smile. Qi Fei did not say anything when she heard that. She was the one who admitted defeat in the bet with Ji Yufei previously, but that was because she wanted Mo Feng to fight with Ji Yufei. However, Qi Fei did not expect Mo Feng to be so useless and be easily defeated by this guy. This made Qi Fei suffer in silence. Eldest young miss, this, Seeing that Chi Fei did not say anything, the star sect's disciples were dumbfounded. Is what this guy said true? Little guy, if you continue to spout nonsense, I'll make sure you die. The elder guarding the mountain gate pointed his sword at Ji Yufei and roared. TSK, Ji Yufei did not take this guy's threat seriously at all. This guy's cultivation was only at the demigod stage, which was far inferior to the star sect's eldest senior brother. The star sect's eldest senior brother was at the godly state after all. Elder Xing, what are you doing? My friend was just joking. Did you take it seriously? Chi Fei glared at Ji Yufei and said loudly. Joking? The mountain guarding elder was doubtful when he heard this. How troublesome. Ask your sect master to come out and see me. Ji Yufei was getting impatient. He could tell that the star sect's formation could not only defend against enemies, but it could also gather the heaven and earth spiritual energy within 10,000 miles of the star mountain. How could a half-step divine king set up such a formation? Could it be that something in the star mountain had attracted the attention of some big shots, and they had set up a backup plan? Ji Yufei was a little curious. Who had set up this backup plan? The person who could set up such a formation had to be at least at the level of the Ling Tian Palace's old ancestor Tian Hong. What did you say? The elder was dumbfounded. This guy wants to see our sect master. Haha, this guy must be crazy. Yes, he's crazy too. Does our sect master think he can just meet anyone? The star sect's disciples mocked Ji Yufei one after another. You're really crazy. Chi Fei looked at Ji Yufei as if he was a monster. Does this guy think he can look down on my father just because he defeated Mo Feng? It was not unreasonable for the star sect's disciples to mock Ji Yufei. One must know that the star sect's sect master, Qi Zhenshan, was a half-step divine king. He was recognized as the #1 powerhouse in the meteorite mountain range. No one thought that Ji Yufei could challenge Qi Zhenshan. Even Chi Fei did not think that Ji Yufei could. Sigh. Seeing the star sect's disciples mocking him, Ji Yufei did not care. He suddenly threw a palm at the star sect's mountain gate. Boom. With a loud bang, the star sect's mountain gate was gone. It disappeared. The memorial archway and stone beasts were all destroyed by Ji Yufei's palm. Then, everyone present was dumbfounded. Their eyeballs almost fell to the ground, and their eyes were bigger than a cow's. Then, everyone's forehead was covered in sweat. This, the elder guarding the star sect's mountain gate's voice trembled, and he could not even speak properly. Do I have the right to ask your sect master to come and see me now? Ji Yufei stood with his hands behind his back, looking calm and collected. The star sect's disciples did not dare to speak. What happened? Outrageous. Who smashed the mountain gate? With a loud bang at the mountain gate, the star mountain immediately burst into an uproar. Chapter 50-45. Ji Yufei destroyed the star sect's mountain gate with a single palm strike. Everyone was stunned when they saw that. The star sect's mountain gate was protected by a formation. However, even with the protection of the formation, the star sect's mountain gate could not be destroyed so easily. However, Ji Yufei blasted the star sect's mountain gate into smithereens with a single palm strike. Ji Yufei's move stunned everyone. At this moment, powerful auras appeared on Star Mountain one after another. Then, these big shots of the star sect descended from the sky and appeared above the mountain gate, looking down at Ji Yufei below. Are you the one who wants to see my sect master? Are you the one who destroyed my sect's mountain gate? A white-haired old man slowly descended from the sky and landed in front of Ji Yufei. He squinted at Ji Yufei with his beady eyes. Granduncle master? Chi Fei was shocked when she saw the old man. Why is this ancestor here? Greetings, patriarch. The members of the star sect outside the mountain gate immediately knelt on the ground when they saw the old man. Who are you? Ji Yufei looked at the white-haired old man indifferently. Haha. You dare to barge into the mountain without even knowing who I am? The old man suddenly laughed out loud. TSK, since you're not the sect master of the star sect, get lost. Ji Yufei waved his hand impatiently. How dare you be so impudent in front of me? The old man instantly stopped smiling, and his expression became ferocious. Who do you think you are? Hurry up and call your sect master to see me. Ji Yufei did not want to waste any more time. If he wanted to break the formation here would not be able to withstand a single blow from him. However, he did not want to break the formation because once it was broken, the heaven and earth spiritual energy that the formation had gathered for countless years would explode. The heaven and earth spiritual energy was definitely extremely powerful. Once it exploded, even Ji Yufei might not be able to control it. Furthermore, Ji Yufei was curious as to who it was that would be so extravagant as to set up such a formation in such a desolate place. What was that person's motive? Since he did not want to destroy the formation, Ji Yufei could not attack it forcefully. Little guy, you're courting death. The old man roared and stretched out his right hand to grab Ji Yufei. The 5 fingers on his right hand were thin and long, and his nails were like sharp swords. If he was grabbed by him, there would definitely be 5 bloody holes on his body. However, if he was caught by the old man, Ji Yufei would lose a lot of face. By then, Ji Yufei's cultivation base had more or less recovered. Palace Master Ling Tian's seal could not seal Ji Yufei's cultivation base for long. Ji Yufei was too lazy to even move. Then, the old man's 5 fingers stopped a foot away from Ji Yufei. His sharp fingernails were immediately broken. The old man felt as if he had grabbed an invisible piece of divine metal. The old man felt as if he had grabbed an invisible piece of godly metal. Protective chi? The old man exclaimed. Ridiculous. With a wave of Ji Yufei's right hand, the Star Sect's Granduncle Master screamed and disappeared in an instant. Everyone was dumbfounded, including Chi Fei. No one had expected that their Granduncle Master, who was feared by everyone in the Star Sect, would disappear with just a wave of his hand. Just as everyone was stunned, Ji Yufei strode into the Star Sect's mountain gate and barged into the mountain. Then, a scene that had never happened before appeared on the Star Mountain. Ji Yufei single-handedly fought his way up the mountain from the foot of the mountain. Everywhere he passed, there were injured people screaming in pain. All the Star Sect disciples who wanted to stop Ji Yufei and chase Ji Yufei down the mountain were knocked to the ground by him, and none of them could get up. However, Ji Yufei did not kill them because their lives were not in danger. When Chi Fei and the rest rushed in, they were stunned again when they saw this scene. They had been stunned countless times. This place is very strange. Soon, Ji Yufei reached the halfway point of the mountain. However, there were still countless Star Sect disciples rushing over from all directions to attack Ji Yufei. At this moment, Ji Yufei sensed the aura of this world. There was actually no place on the Star Mountain with especially high heaven and earth spiritual energy. In other words, he did not know where the heaven and earth spiritual energy here had gone to. The formation of the Star Mountain could gather the heaven and earth spiritual energy within a radius of 10,000 miles. For countless years, even a place like this in the middle of nowhere could gather heaven and earth spiritual energy. Where did the gathered heaven and earth spiritual energy go? Who exactly are you? At this moment, an extremely dignified voice sounded from the top of the mountain. Sect Master, it's the Sect Master. The Sect Master has come out of seclusion. Haha, this guy is dead for sure. The Star Sect disciples were surprised and overjoyed. I'm someone you can't afford to offend. Ji Yufei said calmly. Although his voice was not loud, it spread throughout the entire Star Mountain. Ha! A figure appeared on the top of the mountain, and an extremely powerful pressure descended from the top of the mountain. All the Star Sect disciples on the Star Mountain felt their bodies sink as if a mountain had suddenly pressed on them. Father, Chi Fei was extremely excited when she saw the figure on the top of the mountain. Qi Zhunshan had gone into seclusion to break through to the godly king realm. Now that he had come out, it meant that he had succeeded. No one knew better than Qi Fei what Qi Zhunshan's breakthrough meant. Her father was the first godly king to appear in the meteorite mountain range in countless years. A godly king was the #1 powerhouse in the meteorite mountain range. Sigh. Ji Yufei sighed. In the next moment, he continued to fight his way up the mountain. He did not take Qi Zhunshan seriously at all. You're very arrogant. The figure on the top of the mountain said indifferently. Very soon, Ji Yufei reached the top of the mountain and stood opposite Qi Zhunshan. How can I take you in as my follower if I'm not arrogant? Ji Yufei said with a smile. Qi Zhunshan was speechless. At this moment, countless Star Sect disciples on the Star Mountain were looking at the two figures on the top of the mountain. He's also a godly king. Qi Fei could not help but be shocked when she saw this. That guy was already a godly king at such a young age. Did he start cultivating in his mother's womb? Even if he started cultivating in his mother's womb, it was impossible for him to reach the godly king realm at such a young age. Did I hear wrongly? You want to take me in as your follower? Qi Zhunshan said calmly. Can't I? It's your fortune to be my follower. Ji Yufei stood with his hands behind his back and said proudly. Ha ha. Chapter 5046. At the peak of the Star Mountain, Ji Yufei actually said that he wanted to take the Star Sect master, Qi Zhunshan, as his subordinate. This made all the disciples of the Star Sect angry, shocked, and disdainful. Who does this fellow think he is? He's too arrogant to want our sect master to be his subordinate. How dare he say such words? In the eyes of all the disciples of the Star Sect, this fellow was crazy. Are you crazy? Qi Fei roared at Ji Yufei, who was on the mountain peak. Fei, don't be rude. Qi Zhunshan waved his hand. Father, Qi Fei rushed up to the top of the mountain and stood beside Qi Zhunshan. She raised her eyebrows and glared at Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei was calm and the aura on his body wasn't strong. However, Qi Zhunshan's aura was extremely strong. Although he had tried his best to control it, he still couldn't control it well. Qi Fei, who was standing beside Qi Zhunshan, felt immense pressure. You've just broken through to the God King realm, right? Ji Yufei suddenly smiled. How did you know? Qi Zhunshan was shocked, but he still forced himself to remain calm. Ji Yufei said disdainfully, Is there a need to ask how I know when I can tell with a glance? Qi Zhunshan was shocked again. There was only one possibility for this fellow to be able to tell his cultivation level with a glance. This fellow's cultivation was far above his. At this thought, Qi Zhunshan's forehead began to sweat. There's no need to be so nervous. I'm only here to borrow your place to cultivate for a few days. Ji Yufei said calmly. What? Qi Zhunshan was stunned. This fellow barged into the mountain from the foot of the mountain to the peak. Could it be that he really wanted to cultivate here for a few days? It's up to you whether you want to believe it or not. From today onward, this peak belongs to me. Without my summons, no one is allowed to come up. Understand? Ji Yufei looked around. The peak was not bad. There was a large hall surrounded by lush greenery. Standing at the peak, he could see the surrounding mountains. Hey, you're taking up our place just like that. Qi Fei was indignant. Little girl, you're still too young. Didn't your father tell you that in this world, only the strong are respected? Ji Yufei looked at Qi Fei with a faint smile. The strong are respected. Qi Fei muttered to herself. Senior, since you've taken a liking to this place, I'll send a message. From today onwards, no one from the Star Sect is allowed to go up the mountain. Qi Zhunshan cautiously said to Ji Yufei. At least you know your place. Ji Yufei nodded. Just like that, Ji Yufei settled down at the peak of Stellar Mountain. After that, the peak of the Star Sect Star Mountain became a forbidden area. No one dared to go up there. Even the sect master of the Star Sect did not dare to take half a step onto the peak. Ji Yufei sat cross-legged on the peak of the Star Mountain, sensing the aura of this part of the world. His spiritual force instantly enveloped the entire Star Mountain, and he could sense all the subtle changes on the mountain. Everyone, every living being, was within his range of perception. There are really a lot of people on the mountain. Ji Yufei could sense that there were many Star Sect disciples cultivating below the mountainside. Qi Fei, the purple-clothed girl, was also cultivating. Looks like this little girl has been provoked. Ji Yufei sighed. Qi Fei had started to calm down. She stopped fooling around and started to work hard on her cultivation. Why are these guys gathered together? Ji Yufei sensed that there were many people gathered in a courtyard on the mountainside. Even the sect master, Qi Zhunshan, was present. This was a little strange. Sect master, Did you gather us here to, Xing Yao, the inner sect elder of the Star Sect, said. Sect Master, you have to think twice. The patriarch of the Star Sect said anxiously. He was scared out of his wits by Ji Yufei. When Ji Yufei barged into the mountain, he was sent flying more than 10 kilometers away with a casual wave of his hand outside the mountain gate. What kind of cultivation and battle prowess was that? If Ji Yufei wanted to kill him, it would be even easier than crushing an ant. What was the sect master trying to do? Was he going to provoke the malefic existence on the top of the mountain? Wasn't he courting death? This Uncle Master of the Star Sect did not dare to face Ji Yufei anymore. Uncle Master, you disappoint me. Qi Zhunshan looked at his Uncle Master and said coldly. Sect Master, are you really going to? The expressions of the other elders of the Star Sect changed drastically. The existence on the top of the mountain had fought all the way from the foot of the mountain to the top that day. They, the elders, had also been beaten to the ground. In fact, everyone in the Star Sect had long been scared out of their wits by Ji Yufei. No one dared to attack Ji Yufei. What's there to be afraid of? As long as we release that thing, do you think that guy on the top of the mountain will still be alive? Qi Zhunshan sneered. What, Sect Master, you want to? The elders were shocked when they heard that. The Star Mountain had a master for countless years. Although Qi Zhunshan had founded the Star Sect and occupied the Star Mountain, there was a big secret on the Star Mountain. This secret was only known to the sect master and the elders. Interesting. Ji Yufei was worried that he had no clue, so he wanted to see what these guys were up to. Every move of Qi Zhunshan and the others was under Ji Yufei's perception. Even their conversation was heard by Ji Yufei without missing a single word. However, the upper echelons of the Star Sect could not sense the existence of Ji Yufei's divine consciousness at all. Very soon, the sect master, Qi Zhunshan, left the courtyard and headed straight for the back of the mountain. Roar. Very soon, an earth-shattering roar of a wild beast sounded, and the entire mountain shook under the impact of the sound wave. An extremely powerful and ruthless aura appeared between heaven and earth. Then, a gigantic beast shadow appeared at the back of the mountain. The heaven and earth spiritual energy in the entire world instantly filled up. The endless heaven and earth spiritual energy gathered by the formation of Star Mountain erupted at this moment. In an instant, the concentration of heaven and earth spiritual energy in the entire area of Star Mountain rose rapidly. Roar. A wild beast that was even larger than a mountain stood up at the back of the mountain and roared at the sky. The terrifying sound wave spread out again, and everything within the range of the sound wave was shattered. What, it's actually, at the peak of Star Mountain, Ji Yufei, who was sitting cross-legged in the void, opened his eyes. When he saw the wild beast that walked out of the back of the mountain with heavy footsteps, he could not help but be moved. It was a rare star-swallowing beast. This star-swallowing beast was extraordinary, and it was related to the legendary heaven-swallowing beast. Chapter 5047. Even Ji Yufei found it hard to believe that there was actually an astral-swallowing beast hidden at the back of Star Mountain. Could it be that the person who set up the formation used the formation to gather the heaven and earth spirit energy from all directions to feed this astral-swallowing beast? This would prove why the heaven and earth spirit energy gathered by the formation on Star Mountain had disappeared. Although the heaven and earth spirit energy on Star Mountain was higher than ordinary places, it was not that high. However, Star Mountain was really the best place in the Meteorite Mountain range. What's that? Run. At this moment, the mountain was already in chaos. When had the disciples of Star Sect ever seen a wild beast as huge as a mountain? Some people's legs went limp, while others peed their pants. Everyone fled down the mountain in a panic. Roar. The savage beast roared furiously at the figure on the top of the mountain. A terrifying sound wave spread out, causing the sky to tremble once again. Sect Master, you, the upper echelons of Star Sect were shocked to the extreme. No one expected the Sect Master to be so ruthless as to release that taboo existence. It was easy to release it, but it would be difficult to capture it again. The destructive power of this wild beast was absolutely unparalleled. The wild beast directly walked up the mountain, and the sound of heavy footsteps rang out. With every step it took, the entire mountain shook. It seemed like this wild beast had its eyes on Jiu Fei at the top of the mountain. An extremely violent and ferocious aura erupted from the wild beast's body, causing the world to lose its color. This little guy is very fierce. Jiu Fei was still sitting cross-legged in the air above the mountain top. Although this astral swallowing beast was powerful, it was just a small beast in his eyes. Even if a real heaven-devouring beast appeared in front of him, it would not be a big deal, let alone this astral swallowing beast that was related to the heaven-devouring beast by blood. Jiu Fei thought to himself, Qi Zhenshan is a ruthless person. He actually released this wild beast to deal with me. With the strength of Star Sect, they could not control this wild beast at all. Does Qi Zhenshan want to perish together with me? The star-swallowing beast was simply too huge. As this fellow climbed up the mountain, the entire Star Mountain kept shaking as if it could collapse at any time. Countless pavilions on the mountain were collapsing. Some of the Star Sect disciples who could not dodge in time were buried in the pavilions. Seeing this scene, the upper echelons of the Star Sect really wanted to die. Under the ravaging of this wild beast, Star Mountain was going to be finished. Father, you're crazy. Qi Fei rushed out of her cultivation area, and upon seeing the sight before her, she was dumbfounded. Her father was really too vicious. He had really released the legendary divine beast. In the back mountain of the Stellar Mountain, there was a divine beast in deep slumber. It was unknown how long it had been in slumber. However, Qi Zhenshan knew how to wake up the sleeping divine beast. It was also because of the existence of this divine beast that Qi Zhenshan had the confidence to provoke Jiu Fei. Haha, kid, you're dead this time. Qi Zhenshan laughed. A mere star-devourer beast thinks it can deal with me? You're thinking too much. Jiu Fei, who was sitting cross-legged in the sky above the mountain peak, laughed. What did you say? Qi Zhenshan said coldly. I said that you're a fool. Jiu Fei shook his head helplessly. You, Qi Zhenshan was shocked and furious. At this moment, the mountain-like star-swallowing beast was about to climb to the top of the mountain. This wild beast climbed all the way to the top of the mountain, and wherever it passed, the rocks would shatter, and half of the mountain would be destroyed. Seeing this scene, Qi Zhenshan's heart ached. However, he knew that if he did not kill this fellow today, the Star Sect would probably be destroyed by this fellow at any time. Qi Zhenshan did not believe that Jiu Fei would only come here to cultivate for a few days before leaving. In fact, no one would believe it. In Qi Zhenshan's eyes, Jiu Fei must have come here for a reason. It was definitely not a good thing for the Star Sect, so the genius took the risk. At this moment, not a single Star Sect disciple could be seen on Star Mountain. All the disciples of the Star Sect had already escaped the mountain gate. Who would dare to stay on Star Mountain? Once that peerless divine beast unleashed its might, the entire Star Mountain would probably be completely destroyed. Even Qi Zhenshan hid far away. Roar! Before the star-swallowing beast could climb to the top of the mountain, it leaped up and swallowed Jiu Fei, who was in the sky. Enough! Jiu Fei stretched out his right hand and pressed down gently. Then, the mountain-like star-swallowing beast seemed to have collided with an invisible wall and fell from the sky to the top of the mountain. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire mountain was blasted apart by the star-swallowing beast. Countless rocks flew in all directions, and dust filled the air. It was chaos. Qi Zhenshan was stunned when he saw this. That guy only casually stretched out his hand and pressed down the divine beast from the sky. That was a legendary divine beast. The fact that there was a divine beast in slumber in the Star Sect was actually not a secret. Back then, this divine beast had woken up from its slumber once. That time, it was a disaster for all the forces in the Meteorite Mountain range. Fortunately, the divine beast only woke up for half a day. It only circled the Meteorite Mountain range once before returning to the back mountain of Star Mountain and continuing to sleep. However, that divine beast had caused great harm to the forces in the Meteorite Mountain range. However, this way, the back mountain of Star Mountain had become a forbidden area in the entire Meteorite Mountain range. It was an absolute forbidden area, and no one dared to alarm that divine beast. Now, This young man in black actually pressed down the divine beast with one hand. Ji Yufei's move shocked everyone, including Qi Zhenshan. Rumble, the star-swallowing beast, who was pressed down by Ji Yufei on the top of the mountain, was really doubting its life as a beast. I'm a divine beast, but I'm actually pressed down on the mountain by a human. I've lost all my face as a divine beast. Although divine beasts weren't humans, they also had pride. The star-swallowing beast struggled violently, but the more it struggled, the stronger the power that erupted from the other party's hand. After a period of rubbing, the star-swallowing beast even wanted to die. Countless mud and rocks rolled down from the top of the mountain, and the entire star mountain was reduced by a large chunk. Spare me, exalted one. The star-swallowing beast immediately begged for mercy. That young man in black was simply too terrifying. Qi Zhenshan could not be more dumbfounded. This divine beast was actually begging for mercy from that young man in black. What was going on? I happen to lack a mount. From today onwards, you'll be my mount. As Ji Yufei spoke, he formed a seal with his hand and directly shot a forbidden technique into the star-swallowing beast's body. Yes, Master. I'll definitely be Master's mount obediently. It's my blessing to be able to be Master's mount, the star-swallowing beast said carefully. Chapter 50-48. At the peak of Star Mountain, Ji Yufei suppressed the divine beast with one hand and subdued the legendary invincible divine beast in the meteorite mountain range under everyone's dumbfounded gaze. The Star Sect's sect master, Qi Zhenshan, who had released the divine beast, was scared out of his wits. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect this seemingly young man in black to be so terrifying. Swoosh! Qi Zhenshan immediately turned into a divine light and soared into the sky, fleeing for his life. Still trying to escape, Ji Yufei stretched out his right hand and directly grabbed at the fleeing Qi Zhenshan. Qi Zhenshan felt his body tighten, and then he flew back toward Ji Yufei involuntarily. At this moment, the star-swallowing beast quickly shrank and turned into a monkey-like fellow. Moreover, this fellow was only the size of a fist, furry, and very cute. Ji Yufei was a little speechless. The ferocious and terrifying star-swallowing beast that was as big as a mountain just now had actually become so small and cute. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, who would have believed it? At this moment, Ji Yufei waved his right hand and directly threw Qi Zhenshan, who had been caught by him through the air, onto the mountain top. There was nothing at the peak of Star Mountain now because half of the entire mountain top had been destroyed by the star-swallowing beast. The original pavilions and halls on the mountain top had all been destroyed. Don't kill me. Qi Zhenshan was terrified. He had no choice but to be terrified because he had long been scared out of his wits by Ji Yufei. This young man had even subdued the legendary divine beast. Don't kill my father. Qi Fei rushed over, and in her panic, her veil fell off, revealing her ravishing countenance. Qi Fei of the Star Sect was the most beautiful girl in the meteorite mountain range. However, ever since she wore a veil, no one could see her face. Ever since she reached the age of marriage, the threshold of the Star Sect had been trampled to pieces, and the elites of the various forces in the meteorite mountain range had come to propose marriage. However, the Star Sect was already the overlord of the meteorite mountain range. As the dignified daughter of the Star Sect's sect master, how could Qi Fei take a fancy to these guys in the meteorite mountain range? Qi Fei's gaze was no longer on the meteorite mountains. Don't kill my father. Qi Fei's face had already turned pale with fright. She stood in front of Qi Zhenshan and blocked his way. When did I say I wanted to kill your father? Ji Yufei teased the star-devourer beast sitting on his shoulder. Little fellow, didn't you say you would be my mount? Why does it feel like I've become your mount? Master, startled by Ji Yufei's words, the star-swallowing beast jumped off Ji Yufei's shoulder and transformed into a black-scaled unicorn. This star-devourer beast was proficient in transformation. It could transform into an adorable little fellow or a warhorse. That's more like it. That's more like a mount. Ji Yufei gave the star-devourer beast a thumbs up. Master, spare me. The warhorse that the star-devourer beast had transformed into trembled as it spoke. What's wrong with you all? Do you all think that I'm going to kill you? Ji Yufei glanced at Qi Fei and her daughter, as well as the star devourer beast, and said with some amusement. Qi Zhanshan and his daughter, as well as the star devourer beast, didn't know what to say. You've already occupied Stellar Mountain. Are you here to have fun? All right, all of you, behave yourselves. Of course, if you insist on me killing you, I'll be more than happy to oblige. Ji Yufei said. Don't, Master, please don't. I haven't lived enough yet. The star devourer beast was the first to cower. Qi Zhanshan and the others naturally didn't want to die. Qi Zhanshan directly lay on the ground and begged Ji Yufei. His entire body was trembling, and it seemed like he was really scared out of his wits by Ji Yufei. Qi Fei, on the other hand, looked at Ji Yufei with a somewhat resentful expression. She was a young girl. Who didn't want a peerless hero to come to marry her on a 9-colored cloud? In Qi Fei's eyes, Ji Yufei was that peerless hero in her heart, but this peerless hero didn't seem to like her at all. This made Qi Fei feel very depressed. All of you, retreat. Don't disturb my cultivation. Ji Yufei waved his right hand and said calmly. Yes. Qi Zhanshan and his daughter immediately turned around and ran away. The star devourer beast also disappeared in a flash. Roar. Very soon, an earth-shattering roar came from outside Stellar Mountain. Don't kill. When Ji Yufei heard this roar, he immediately sent a voice transmission to the star devourer beast. The star devourer beast was definitely an invincible existence in the meteorite mountain range. Once this wild beast started a massacre outside, all the living beings in the entire meteorite mountain range would be in deep trouble. In the next moment, there was no movement outside Stellar Mountain. At this moment, the entire star sect was dumbfounded. The legendary divine beast had actually been subdued by that mysterious young man. How could the star sect endure this? One had to know that the star sect had been guarding this divine beast for countless years. Now, this mysterious young man had subdued the divine beast the moment he arrived and almost destroyed Stellar Mountain. Although everyone in the star sect hated Ji Yufei to the core, no one dared to complain or be angry. This was because no one in the star sect, from the sect master Qi Zhanshan to the ordinary star sect disciples, wanted to die. In this world, the strong were still respected. For several days, Ji Yufei carefully sensed at the peak of Stellar Mountain. His powerful divine consciousness enveloped the entire Stellar Mountain. There was actually an earth vein deep under this Stellar Mountain. The formation of Stellar Mountain was connected to the earth vein, and could the earth vein be the territory of that peerless spirit treasure? Ji Yufei opened his eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a cold smile. In the next moment, a divine light rushed out from between Ji Yufei's brows, and the divine light directly turned into an illusory figure. It was a divine consciousness avatar. Ji Yufei's divine consciousness avatar disappeared into the void and burrowed into the ground. The underground of the star sect was covered with formation patterns, but these formation patterns could not stop Ji Yufei's divine consciousness avatar at all. Ji Yufei's divine consciousness avatar directly passed through the layers of formation and entered the earth vein. The earth vein was not dark because there were many spirit crystals condensed here. These spirit crystals were glowing and illuminating the earth vein. Yes. At this moment, Ji Yufei's divine consciousness avatar suddenly sensed a trace of spiritual energy fluctuation. Ji Yufei's divine consciousness avatar directly rushed in the direction of the spiritual energy fluctuation. However, when he arrived at the place where the spiritual energy fluctuation was, the aura had already disappeared. Interesting. Ji Yufei's divine consciousness avatar smiled. It was the first time he had encountered such a cunning peerless spirit treasure. It seemed that this spirit treasure's intelligence was not low. Just as Ji Yufei was about to collect the peerless spirit treasure in the earth vein, little Ya, who was in the void realm, was suffering in southern wilderness. The situation in southern wilderness was even more turbulent. Moreover, the various feudal lords of southern wilderness were also restless and could not sit still anymore. Chapter 5049. Ji Yufei's departure doubled the pressure on Xiao Ya. One must know that the current southern wilderness was in a mess. The fierce Tiger King and the North Garrison King had joined forces to eliminate the Shaman King, Wu Jiao. However, when the other shaman kings saw that Wu Jiao could not withstand the combined forces of the fierce Tiger King and the North Garrison King, they finally could not sit still anymore. The other shaman king, Wu Fang, had no choice but to lend a helping hand. As a result, the fierce Tiger King and the North Conquering King couldn't gain any advantage even if they worked together. The two sides were in a stalemate again, and no one could kill the other. However, the situation in the eastern part of southern barbaric land was extremely grim because the East King had invited the Myriad Transformations ancestor. 10,000 years ago, the Myriad Transformations Patriarch was already as famous as the Hong Sky Patriarch in the Array Dao. When the Myriad Transformations Patriarch attacked, he had nearly broken the Hong Sky Patriarch's Sky Scorpion array. Patriarch Tianhong's Array Dao cultivation was truly impressive. Even Myriad Transformations Patriarch could not possibly break the Sky Scorpion array in one go. Ancestor, you've been here for quite some time, right? The East King said to the Myriad Transformations ancestor in the main tent of the East King's army. What? You want to blame me for not doing my job well? Who was the Myriad Transformations ancestor? How could he not understand what Dong Wang was implying? I don't dare. Dong Wang smiled politely. The East King's trusted generals were also present. Advisor Xu Qingyun sat to the left of the East King, while Mu Gaofeng sat to the right. The Myriad Transformations ancestor sat opposite the East King. If you can get your hands on the geocentric netherworld spring water, I will immediately break the formation, twist off Tianhong's head and kick it like a ball. I will let you drive straight in and kill your way to the southern barbarian royal capital. The Myriad Transformations ancestor shouted. Geocentric yellow springs water? Dong Wang couldn't help but frown when he heard that. That was a supreme treasure of the world. Some people said that the little princess of the West Sea Dragon clan had once obtained such a supreme treasure. The little princess of the West Sea Dragon clan, Long Xiaoju, was the apple of the West Sea Old Dragon Emperor's eye. At the same time, she had also entered the Ling Tian Palace. Who would dare to touch her? I'll think of something. Dong Wang muttered. There might be geocentric yellow spring water in Ling Tian Palace. Really? The Myriad Transformations ancestor smiled and did not say anything. He already knew that the East King had the support of a great figure from the Ling Tian Palace. Otherwise, how could the East King dare to compete with Ji Yufei? It was the same for the Sorcerer tribe. If the Sorcerer tribe did not have a shaman emperor holding down the fort, even if Wu Jiao was 10 times braver, he would not dare to attack the fierce Tiger King. Moreover, up until now, Ji Yufei was still in closed-door cultivation. Actually, they didn't know that Ji Yufei had already come out of seclusion. However, there was only one person who knew that Ji Yufei had come out of seclusion, and that was Xiao Ya. However, after Ji Yufei exited seclusion, he had already left the Southern Man royal capital. Of course, besides Xiao Ya, no one knew that Ji Yufei had left Southern Man imperial capital. With Ji Yufei's cultivation, no one was able to sense him leaving the Southern Man imperial capital. The Southern Man imperial capital was still bustling. The people in the city did what they had to do. The major city gates were still bustling with traffic. On both sides of the main road in the city, shops stood in great numbers. Experts from all over the world had gathered in the Southern Man imperial capital. At this time, countless forces in the entire Southern Man imperial capital had sent spies into the Southern Man imperial capital. Now, in the Southern Man imperial capital, there were countless pairs of eyes staring at the Southern Man imperial capital. They were all staring at Ji Yufei. When will Master return? Xiao Ya stood guard outside Ji Yufei's place of seclusion. However, the place of seclusion was empty. However, she had no choice but to stand guard here because this way, everyone would think that Ji Yufei was still in seclusion. This was also the fundamental reason why the Southern Man imperial capital was not in chaos. No one dared to cause trouble in the Southern Man imperial capital. It did not matter how chaotic it was outside. However, if anyone dared to cause trouble in the Southern Man imperial capital, they would definitely be courting death. One had to know that the current master of the imperial capital was Ji Yufei. This Ji Yufei was someone who dared to fight with the Ling Tian Palace master. Who dared to cause trouble in his territory? The news of Ji Yufei attacking the Ling Tian Palace did not spread. This was because this was simply too embarrassing for the people of the Ling Tian Palace. Since ancient times, no one had ever dared to attack the mountain gate of the Ling Tian Palace and directly challenge the Ling Tian Palace master. Therefore, the upper echelons of the Ling Tian Palace issued a death order. If anyone dared to spread this matter, they would be killed without mercy. In this way, the disciples of the Ling Tian Palace would not dare to speak carelessly. Of course, it did not matter even if people knew that Ji Yufei had come out of seclusion. In the entire Void Realm, other than the Ling Tian Palace master, there was no one else who could threaten Ji Yufei. While Ji Yufei was collecting the supreme spiritual treasure in the meteorite mountain range, in the sky, Long Xiaoju led a group of experts of the West Sea Dragon clan to hunt down the second son of the barbarian emperor, Man Yu. Wang Dozhan of the Battle Sect even offered a sky-high bounty for the heads of Man Yu, Mu Tianfeng, and Mr. Qiu Shirai. At this time, Long Xiaoju led the Black Dragon King and the others to guard outside the Extreme Devil Cave, waiting for Man Yu to come. Your Highness, do you think Man Yu will not dare to appear? Two figures stood on top of a mountain outside the Extreme Devil Cave. They were Long Xiaoju and the Black Dragon King. The other experts of the West Sea Dragon clan were scattered around the Extreme Devil Cave, occupying the best positions. Moreover, Long Xiaoju also set up layers of arrays around the Extreme Devil Cave. Unless Man Yu doesn't appear, once he does, he will definitely be discovered by Long Xiaoju. Continue to guard. If Man Yu wants to obtain the power to challenge my cheap master, he will definitely come, unless he doesn't want to take revenge. Long Xiaoju said indifferently. True. The Black Dragon King smiled. In a hidden valley a dozen li away from the mountain where Long Xiaoju was, Mu Tianfeng and Man Yu were hiding in a cave. Senior Mu, what should we do now? Man Yu whispered to Mu Tianfeng. Second Master, don't be impatient. Let's hide for a few days and let them relax their vigilance. Mu Tianfeng said after thinking. This. All right. Although Man Yu was unwilling, he had no other choice. Long Xiaoju was too hateful, he actually guarded the Extreme Devil Cave. In this way, it would be somewhat difficult for him to enter the Extreme Devil Cave. Long Xiaoju had the advantage in numbers while they only had two people. One Black Dragon King was enough to give them a headache. Now, other than Long Xiaoju and the experts of the West Sea, there was also Wang Dozhan of the Battle Sect and the Vice Sect Master Lei Ao of the Battle Sect. The disciples of the Battle Sect also set up layers of checkpoints around the Extreme Devil Cave. It was already very amazing for them to be able to barge their way here. However, seeing that the Extreme Devil Cave was right in front of them but was blocked by someone, Man Yu was extremely depressed. He really wanted to tear Long Xiaoju and the others into 1,000 pieces. Chapter 50-50. In the Void Realm, the center of the 5 great regions was still peaceful. The Buddhist clan and the Sky clan, these two superpowers, didn't make any moves. The Sky clan guarded the Void Beginning while the Buddhist clan guarded the Extreme Devil Cave. However, when Long Xiaoju brought the experts of the Dragon clan near the Extreme Devil Cave, the Buddhist clan ignored them and allowed Long Xiaoju to set up the formation. The people of the Buddhist clan didn't show themselves easily, but once they did, it would definitely be earth-shattering. Actually, Long Xiaoju didn't dare to be impudent in the Extreme Devil Cave. However, her father was an old antique that had lived for countless years. He used to travel the world and knew many people. Even in the Buddhist clan, there were people who had some friendship with the West Sea Old Dragon. The Buddhist clan also received the news that someone wanted to enter the Extreme Devil Cave and become a demon. How could they do that? The Extreme Devil Cave was the origin of the devils in the Void Realm. For countless years, any living being that entered the Extreme Devil Cave would turn into a terrifying devil. Some experts of the evil path even wanted to use the Extreme Devil Cave to become a demon. After becoming a demon, human experts would lose all emotions and only know how to kill. Moreover, their battle prowess was shocking. Even the experts of the Buddhist clan couldn't suppress them. Such a tragedy had happened in the past. The Buddhist clan had lost many of their experts in the Devil Calamity. This way, with Long Xiaoju and the battle gate in the open and the Buddhist ancestor watching in the dark, Even someone as strong as Mu Tianfeng wouldn't dare to show his head at this time. The Buddhist clan wouldn't be lenient to these people who wanted to become a demon. That was because after they turned into demons, these fellas would turn into horrifying demons. At that time, they would wreak havoc in the world. Therefore, even if it was the Buddha race, who emphasized on being merciful, they would not be soft-hearted at this moment. Long Xiaoju stood guard for more than 10 days. In these 10 days, she couldn't even see a shadow, let alone Man Yu. The demonic energy in the extreme devil cave was vast and mighty. Even in the outskirts of the cave, one would be affected by the demonic energy. Those with weak cultivations would also have their inner demons triggered by the demonic nature if they stayed here for too long. They would also be in danger of becoming a demon. However, a person with a firm mind would be affected by the demonic energy and wouldn't easily become a demon. However, it was hard to say for those who wanted to become a demon. Even Man Yu can endure it. Long Xiaoju continued to climb up the mountain as usual, inspecting the formation he had set up. The Black Dragon King and the others had just hunted a ferocious beast in the mountains and roasted it to eat. Although they were from the dragon race, they did not reject delicacies. Compared to eating raw, roasted food was naturally more delicious. "Boss, how long do you think we have to stay here?" A Dragon Clan powerhouse glanced at the dragon boat on a distant mountain and said in a low voice. "You ask me, but who should I ask?" The Black Dragon King glanced at this guy and said, "That fellow Man Yu shouldn't dare to come." The other expert from the Dragon Clan flipped the roasted meat on the grill and continued to roast it. "It doesn't matter if he comes or not. We just have to stand guard," the Black Dragon King said expressionlessly. Actually, there were still people from the Buddha race watching in the dark. Maybe Man Yu was really terrified and didn't dare to come. Boom. At this moment, a loud sound came from the direction of the extreme devil cave, causing the earth to shake. The Black Dragon King and the others were shocked and hurriedly looked towards the direction of the sound. They saw a black demonic chi rushing into the sky from the direction of the extreme devil cave, forming a huge mushroom cloud. In the next moment, the mushroom cloud spread out. The demonic chi covered the sky and a terrifying demonic aura spread out. Even the Black Dragon King felt his heart palpitate. The eruption of devil chi formed a circle of black devil chi that was thousands of feet tall, sweeping out in all directions. Wherever it passed, mountain ridges were directly shattered. The formation that Long Xiaoju had set up in the mountains was instantly destroyed. The Black Dragon King and the others who had already rushed into the sky were all stunned when they saw this terrifying scene. "What are you all still standing there for? Why aren't you running? Are you waiting for death?" A loud shout woke the Black Dragon King and the other experts from the dragon race from their shock. "Run!" One of the experts from the dragon race roared and turned to flee. The other experts from the dragon race also turned to flee. "What's going on?" The Black Dragon King was stunned. Why did the extreme devil cave suddenly explode? Very quickly, 9 rays of Buddha light rushed out from the mountains around the extreme devil cave. A huge Buddha seal appeared in the sky above the extreme devil cave and directly pressed down on it. Waves of demonic roars came from the extreme devil cave. Within the demonic chi, there seemed to be a group of demons dancing. "Ha ha! You want to trap me? Dream on!" An angry roar came from the extreme devil cave. A figure rushed out from the monstrous demonic chi. This person had disheveled hair and a pair of blood-red eyes. On his forehead, there was a demonic mark that emitted a demonic light that caused one's heart to palpitate. "Man Yu! How is this possible?" When the Black Dragon King saw that person, he instantly screamed as if he had seen a ghost. He was extremely shocked. They had been guarding the extreme devil cave with their lives. How did this Man Yu enter the extreme devil cave? Moreover, it seemed like this fellow had already turned into a devil. A peaceful Buddha voice rang out. The demonic chi that filled every inch of the void was immediately reduced by half. The Buddha voice contained supreme Buddha power. It was the nemesis of the demonic Tao. "When this daddy meets the Buddha, I will kill, kill, kill." Man Yu was incomparably crazy. Rays of demonic light rushed out from his body and revolved around him. The demonic might was shocking. Who can tell me what happened? Long Xiaoju was furious. He had put up so many defenses, but he still couldn't defend against Man Yu. This fellow actually entered the extreme devil cave and successfully turned into a devil. The Black Dragon King and the others didn't know what happened. No one thought that Man Yu actually had such great abilities. He actually sneaked into the extreme devil cave without anyone noticing. How did he do it? Let alone the Black Dragon King and the others, even Long Xiaoju was very curious. At that moment, the ancestral Buddha finally made his move. 9 beams of Buddhist light shot out from the 9 mountain peaks. The immense Buddhist power was like a terrifying wave of demonic aura that was spreading out to block the attack. At the peak of each mountain, there was an old monk sitting cross-legged. The 9 old monks were like Buddhas descending to the mortal world. They chanted and their bodies shone with Buddha light. They were refining the demonic energy that erupted from the extreme devil cave. Boom! Bang! Muffled sounds of collision shook the heavens and earth. Man Yu, who had turned into a devil, started to attack the formation of the Buddhist sect. He was incomparably crazy. The demonic energy erupted from his body and was extremely powerful. The rarest thing was that this fellow could still maintain a certain level of clarity and didn't completely fall into madness. Chapter 50-51. No one would have thought that Man Yu would enter the extreme devil cave without anyone noticing and successfully become a devil. This Man Yu actually directly detonated the extreme devil cave. Extremely violent demonic chi erupted and spread out in all directions. But at this moment, 9 huge Buddha lights shot out from the 9 mountains outside the extreme devil cave. The 9 Buddha lights formed an incomparably huge Buddha seal in the sky above the extreme devil cave. Buddhist power erupted, suppressing the extreme devil cave. Auspicious Buddha chants resounded between heaven and earth, like a supreme Buddha chanting sutras. The Buddha chants dispersed the devil chi between heaven and earth. The huge Buddha sect formation blocked the devil chi that erupted from the extreme devil cave. Rumble, the entire Buddhist formation was shaking, and countless Buddhist devil-subduing Buddhist seals appeared in the void. No matter how strong and fierce the demonic power that erupted from Devil Cave was, it could not break through the Buddhist formation. At this moment, one powerful figure after another appeared in the surroundings of the extreme demon cave. Every single one of them emitted a towering Buddhist glow. Buddha and devil have always been mortal enemies since ancient times. Things have gotten out of hand. Seeing this, Long Xiaoju could only bring her subordinates and escape first. Man Yu became a devil and became extremely powerful. Moreover, his devil chi was constantly increasing. The devil rune on his forehead emitted a dazzling devil light. The heaven and earth spiritual chi and devil chi crazily gathered between Man Yu's eyebrows. He directly absorbed them and turned them into his own energy. Roar! In the Buddha sect formation, above the extreme devil cave, Man Yu crazily drew the power of the extreme devil cave and broke through the shackles of his cultivation. Streams of devil chi that looked like devil dragons rushed out from the depths of the extreme devil cave and instantly entered Man Yu's body. Man Yu screamed in pain. The next moment, his clothes were torn apart. There were actually small snake-like things swimming around on his skin. Why? Man Yu's body trembled. He raised his head and roared. A dazzling devil light rushed out from between his eyebrows, transforming into an ancient devil seal that fiercely slammed against the Buddha seal in the sky. Boom! A loud explosion shook the heaven and earth. The demon seal and the Buddha seal collided. 2 powerful forces exploded. It was as if the entire world was going to be destroyed. It was incomparably terrifying. After the Buddha seal in the sky was hit by the Buddha seal that rushed out of Man Yu's forehead, the Buddha seal in the sky dimmed. Man Yu waved his right hand towards the depths of extreme devil cave. A beam of demonic light shot out from the depths of extreme devil cave and was caught by him. The demonic light dissipated and a demonic halberd appeared in Man Yu's hand. A demonic dragon appeared on the halberd, giving off a terrifying demonic aura. It's the devil dragon halberd. The devil dragon halberd actually recognized him as his master. An old voice rang out. This little guy's demonic affinity is not bad. Another old voice sounded. Demon fate my ass. Before this demon becomes a demon lord, we should get rid of him as soon as possible. A rough voice came from afar. The angry Buddha Supreme is here? An old voice sounded. Fury Buddha Supreme? Long Xiaoju, who had already escaped far away, couldn't help but be shocked. The angry Buddha Supreme was an expert of the Buddha clan. He was also a Buddhist lord who specialized in subduing demons. The angry Buddha Supreme wasn't like the other Buddhist lords. He had a bad temper and only had one word when facing demons, which was kill. It was unknown how many demons had died under the angry Buddha Supreme's Vajra exorcism wand. Even a peerless demon who had turned into a demon had his soul scattered by the angry Buddha Supreme's exorcism wand. Heavenly Buddha, open the Buddha formation. Let me go in and exterminate the demon. The angry Buddha Supreme shouted at a figure sitting cross-legged on the top of a mountain. In the Buddha clan, there were 3 Buddhist lords: heaven, earth, and human. They were in charge of all the affairs of the Buddha clan. In the Buddha clan, the one with the highest status was the Heaven Buddha Supreme, followed by the Earth Buddha Supreme, and finally the Human Buddha Supreme. The other Buddhist lords had to listen to the 3 Buddhist lords. Anger Buddha, don't you dare act recklessly. The Earth Buddha Supreme, who was sitting cross-legged on another mountain, said. Could it be that I can't exterminate this little demon? The angry Buddha Supreme glared at the Earth Buddha Supreme. Don't act rashly. The Human Buddha Supreme also said. The angry Buddha Supreme was speechless when he saw that the 3 Buddhist lords didn't allow him to kill his way into the extreme devil cave. However, no matter how fiery his temper was, he didn't dare to say anything at this moment. He didn't dare to openly challenge the authority of the Heaven, Earth, and Human Buddha Supreme. At this moment, the 9 Buddhist lords controlling the Buddha formation used their full power and raised the Buddha formation's power to the limit. Man Yu roared and crazily swung the devil dragon halberd in his hand to attack the Buddha formation. However, the power of the Buddha formation was too strong. Man Yu couldn't break it in a short time and leave the extreme devil cave. Little fellow, let me lend you a helping hand. At this moment, an old voice came from the depths of the extreme devil cave. What? He's not dead. The angry Buddha Supreme was shocked when he heard the voice from the extreme devil cave. This was an old rival of his that was beaten out of the extreme devil cave by him 1,000 years ago. He originally thought that this demon was dead for sure. Who would have thought that he would hear this fella's voice again today? In the next moment, the extreme devil cave suddenly shook violently. An unimaginably powerful demonic light rushed out of the extreme devil cave and soared into the sky. Boom! Following a loud sound, the demonic light actually made a fist-sized hole in the Buddhist seal that was sealing the sky above the extreme devil cave. Swish! Man Yu turned into a demonic light and directly rushed out of the hole in the Buddhist seal. Ha ha! I'm out. This world belongs to me. Man Yu held the devil dragon halberd and laughed heartily. Kill. The moment Man Yu rushed out, a Buddhist light rushed over from afar and directly collided with him. Kill. The incomparably ferocious Man Yu directly swung the devil halberd towards the Buddhist light. Boom. The devil dragon halberd in Man Yu's hand fiercely smashed against the Buddhist light. Following a loud sound, he was directly blown away. He continuously coughed out blood. It was black demonic blood. His hands that were holding the devil dragon halberd were drenched in blood, but he still tightly held onto the devil dragon halberd. Compete. Man Yu sneered and directly turned into a demonic light that soared into the sky, instantly disappearing into the void. His speed was extremely fast. Where do you think you're going? The angry Buddha Supreme roared and extended his right hand. The Vajra exorcism wand flew back into his hand. In the next moment, he turned into a Buddhist light and chased after Man Yu. The angry Buddha Supreme's speed was not slower than Man Yu's at all. At this moment, a faint and illusory demonic figure appeared outside of the Buddhist sect's formation. Ji Yu Fei, your time of death has come. Chapter 51:13. Under the moonlight, Ji Yu Fei used an eagle claw to defeat an eagle claw, capturing the Eagle King in one move. Everyone was dumbfounded. How is this possible? City Lord. The godly kings that the red-browed Eagle King brought were all dumbfounded. How were they supposed to continue? Even the city lord had been captured in one move. How were they supposed to continue? Furthermore, Jiu Fei had killed countless members of the Sky Eagle army with one strike. The two most elite troops under the red-browed Eagle King had been crippled by Jiu Fei just like that. This made the red-browed Eagle King's heart bleed. One had to know that the red-browed Eagle King had put in a lot of effort to build and train these two troops. Boom! At this moment, the red-browed Eagle King, whose throat was gripped by Jiu Fei, suddenly exploded with a resplendent divine light. Jiu Fei was shocked. In the next moment, he felt an extremely powerful Yuan Qi explode from the red-browed Eagle King's body, directly sending him flying several feet away. What's going on? Jiu Fei stared at the red-browed Eagle King, who was surrounded by divine light, and couldn't help but frown. A formation plate rushed out from the red-browed Eagle King's body and floated in front of Jiu Fei. Rays of divine light transformed into ancient runes that circled around the formation plate. This was something that Jiu Fei was very familiar with. The power of a super array? Jiu Fei stared at the hovering array disk and couldn't help but frown. An array disk was very useful. It could draw the power of a large array for one's own use. It was the master of the array. Little guy, go and die. The red-browed Eagle King was enraged to the extreme. His eyes were bloodshot as he desperately activated the array disk. An even more powerful and terrifying power exploded from his body. The red-browed Eagle King waved his hands. Rays of cold light instantly turned into extremely sharp sword qi that pierced towards Jiu Fei. Jiu Fei sneered. In the next moment, he rushed into the sky and dodged the piercing sword qi. Kill! Jiu Fei let out a furious roar and punched towards the red-browed Eagle King. A violent fist force erupted from his fist, causing the void to tremble. Boundless flames erupted from his body, illuminating the entire world. Fire spiritual energy. The red-browed Eagle King was both shocked and furious. At this time, he was the ruler of the super great formation, drawing over an incomparably powerful force. Rumble! Suddenly, the sky changed color, and the sun and moon lost their light. A huge dragon shadow rushed out from the red-browed Eagle King's body, directly facing Jiu Fei's fist energy. Boom! With a loud sound, the two powers instantly collided. The huge dragon image dissipated, and Jiu Fei was actually pushed back by the superpower of the red-browed Eagle King. This was the first time since Jiu Fei came to this world that he had been suppressed in terms of strength. Haha, little fellow, you're dead meat. The red-eyebrowed Eagle King laughed out loud as he attacked once again. The power of the super great array gathered towards him at a crazy rate. City Lord, you're amazing. This is the power of the super great array? The subordinates of the red-eyebrowed Eagle King were all shocked. They had thought that with Jiu Fei's power, they would definitely be dead meat. Who would have thought that their city lord was so powerful that even Jiu Fei was pushed back? Moreover, the red-eyebrowed Eagle King's power was still increasing. This super great array had been running for an unknown period of time, gathering the spiritual energy of the entire region. The power of this super great array was absolutely terrifying. Even the red-eyebrowed Eagle King could not withstand this power. The red-eyebrowed Eagle King did not dare to draw all the power of the super great array over, because he did not want to die. What's going on? At this time, in the Black Fog City, the city lord was originally sitting cross-legged in a secret room with his eyes closed, but he suddenly opened his eyes. The spiritual energy of the entire world was changing. Who drew the power of the super great array? The city lord was extremely curious. Was it the red-eyebrowed Eagle King of the Heavenly Eagle City, or the Thousand Beast King of the Thousand Beast City? At this time, about 60 miles away from Jiu Fei's camp, the Thousand Beast King was stunned by the endless flames in the sky. Then, he sensed the changes in this part of the world. Who used the array plate? The Thousand Beast King was also extremely shocked. Big brother, this. The desolate tiger stood behind the Thousand Beast King. You stay here, I'll go take a look. The Thousand Beast King said and leaped into the sky, rushing towards the place where the flames were soaring. The desolate tiger was shocked. He wanted to stop his big brother, but the Thousand Beast King was already far away. At this time, in the sky above Jiu Fei's camp, two figures were moving at high speed. Dull sounds of collision rang in the sky, shaking the earth. Jiu Fei's body was covered in mighty divine fire, and he directly struck out with the fire element fist. Every time he struck out, a monstrous divine fire erupted from his fist, burning the void and distorting it. Even when facing the red-eyebrowed Eagle King who had drawn the power of the super great array, not only did he not show any fear, but his fighting spirit was even stronger. This guy is a lunatic. At this time, the red-eyebrowed Eagle King was extremely depressed. He had drawn the power of the super great array to keep blasting this guy away, but the other party kept coming back to kill him again and again. And this guy was getting more and more courageous as he fought. The red-eyebrowed Eagle King found that he could not really hurt this guy at all. This is big trouble. The red-eyebrowed Eagle King groaned inwardly. If this continued, it would definitely be disadvantageous to him. In fact, the red-eyebrowed Eagle King did not know that Jiu Fei was constantly devouring the power of the super great array. The power was just too strong. Jiu Fei knew that if he could completely devour this power, his cultivation would improve again. It's that old guy red-eyebrowed. The Thousand Beast City Lord, the Thousand Beast King, came to take a look and was immediately shocked. At this time, on the ground, in the military camp, Jiu Fei's army and the rest of the red-eyebrowed Eagle King's army were engaged in a fierce battle. Why aren't you two taking action? What are you waiting for? The red-eyebrowed Eagle King roared. He could not hold on any longer. Even though he was a divine king, he was unable to do so. It was not easy to draw the power of the super great array. That old guy red-eyebrowed, the Thousand Beast King had no choice but to take action. This Jiu Fei was many times stronger than he had imagined. Roar! The Thousand Beast King roared, as if he had turned into a golden lion. He threw a punch at Jiu Fei, his long hair dancing wildly. Jiu Fei grabbed the Thousand Beast King's right fist with the back of his hand. In the next moment, Jiu Fei swung the Thousand Beast King and threw him at the red-eyebrowed Eagle King. The red-eyebrowed Eagle King was dumbfounded. At the same time, a cold light suddenly appeared and struck at Jiu Fei's head at lightning speed. What? Chapter 5160. The guy who made the bet with him was actually Jiu Fei. Long Xiaoju was so shocked that he almost fell from the sky. Was this guy pretending to be weak? How preposterous. Long Xiaoju was infuriated. In the next moment, the sky thunder formation immediately changed. Countless dazzling lightning flashed in the thunderclouds, like silver snakes swimming in the thunderclouds. An extremely terrifying aura of destruction burst out from the thunderclouds. Even the West Sea Dragon Clan army that had retreated more than 10 li away was terrified. The souls of all living beings trembled in fear. The people inside West Gorge City were in an even worse state. All of them hid and trembled in fear. Boom! A huge bolt of lightning struck the layer of divine light above West Gorge City. Countless formation runes appeared on the divine light and devoured most of the lightning energy. What? Long Xiaoju finally realized that something was wrong. His opponent's formation could devour the energy of his sky lightning formation. Bolt after bolt of terrifying lightning struck the divine light that protected West Gorge City, causing ripples to appear on the surface of the divine light. However, Jiu Fei's formation was unbreakable. Even if Long Xiaoju was exhausted to the point of vomiting blood, he still wouldn't be able to break through the formation. However, Long Xiaoju didn't realize this. He continued to activate the sky lightning formation. The earth-shattering thunder was deafening. The formation-breaking arrows hidden in the sky lightning formation were finally going to unleash their power. Each arrow was releasing its strongest energy. As the formation-breaking arrows exploded in the sky above West Gorge City, Jiu Fei's great array was finally shaken, slightly shaking. Explode! Long Xiaoju roared. He made up his mind and detonated the entire sky lightning formation. An unprecedented amount of destructive energy exploded, causing the void to crack. The earth-shattering scene stunned everyone. Even the Black Dragon King, a half-step Emperor Realm cultivator, was flabbergasted. He didn't know that a formation could be this powerful. Long Xiaozhou's cultivation base was only at the Divine King realm. However, the might of the heavenly lightning formation could easily eliminate a half-step martial monarch. "Oh my God, is this the power of a formation?" Prime Minister Turtle murmured. The array Tao of the Void Realm had never been valued. Who would have thought that the power of this array would be so astonishing? After today, the Tao of arrays will definitely be valued by the world. At this time, in the sky above West Gorge City, a huge ball of lightning exploded. The mountain ridges around West Gorge City shook, and huge cracks appeared on the mountain. Countless rocks tumbled down from the mountains. The mountains near Western Gorge City were in chaos. The big shots who were watching the battle had no choice but to retreat into the distance. The exploding lightning turned into countless lightning bolts that shot out in all directions. Some unlucky fellows were directly struck by the lightning bolts, their bodies emitting black smoke as they fell from the sky. Even if those unlucky fellows were not struck to death by the lightning, they would still be half dead from the fall. The heaven-battering Heavenly King was an unlucky guy. He was directly hit by a bolt of lightning and instantly turned into a broom. His face was pitch black and his straight hair was still smoking. This, beside the heaven-battering king, Wu Ying, the north-vanquishing king, and the 10,000 Elephant King were scared out of their wits. With a whoosh, they disappeared without a trace. They didn't want to be struck by lightning like the heaven-battering king. You guys, seeing that these fellows had no sense of loyalty, the heaven-battering king was so angry that he almost vomited blood. His injuries weren't light. Seeing the lightning bolts flying around him, he couldn't care less and fled as well. A bolt of lightning flashed across the void and directly struck a mountain ridge a dozen miles away. The next moment, with a loud boom, the entire mountain ridge exploded. Dust rose into the sky, and rocks flew everywhere. As the huge thunderball exploded, many lightning bolts directly struck the West Sea Dragon tribe's array formation a dozen miles away. The speed of the lightning bolts was extremely fast. The army of the West Sea Dragon tribe had no time to dodge. Roar! The Black Dragon King roared angrily and rushed forward. With a punch, he dispersed a bolt of lightning. Then, he took out the Black Dragon shield and blocked the rest of the lightning bolts. However, the power of the lightning was so strong that the Black Dragon King's entire right arm was numb. What a powerful lightning bolt! The Black Dragon King was extremely shocked. At this moment, West Gorge City, which bore the brunt of the attack, was as still as a mountain. A ball of divine light enveloped West Gorge City. The Sky Thunder array exploded, and an unprecedented power of lightning erupted. However, the ball of divine light that enveloped West Gorge City only shook a few times. On top of the city wall, Xiao Ya and the red-browed Eagle King were also dumbfounded by the scene in the sky. They couldn't speak for a long time. Only Ji Yufei was sitting on a chair, eating immortal fruits and drinking immortal wine, feeling extremely satisfied. He didn't even spare a glance at the terrifying scene in the sky that was about to destroy the world. Outside the array formation, Long Xiaozhou's face flushed when he saw this scene. In the next moment, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Rumble, heaven and earth shook, and the destructive power began to weaken. The endless lightning bolts dissipated in the void. The Sky Thunder array was finished. After a full hour, the thunderclouds in the sky dissipated completely, and the world returned to peace. At this moment, Long Xiaozhou was in an extremely sorry state. He was also very weak. "I'll come again tomorrow," Long Xiaozhou said as he turned around and left. "Okay, I will wait for you." Ji Yufei smiled. This guy, Long Xiaozhou, was both shocked and angry. The opponent's array cultivation shocked her. He gave her a feeling that he was unfathomable. She had only felt this feeling from her master before. How is this possible? Long Xiaozhou simply didn't believe that this guy named Ji Yufei's array cultivation could compare to her master. One should know that her master was known as the #1 array cultivator in the Void Realm. How could the master of the little princess of the West Sea Dragon race be an ordinary person? "Master, are we going to let this little girl go just like that?" Xiao Ya asked in confusion. Right now, Long Xiaozhou was at her weakest. If he didn't take her down now, when would he take her down? There's no fun in taking her down. Ji Yufei smiled. It wasn't easy for him to meet an interesting person. Naturally, He wanted to have some fun. Otherwise, wouldn't it be too boring? Xiao Ya and the red-browed Eagle King were speechless when they heard this. The West Sea Dragon Race Army came in high spirits but returned in disappointment. This greatly affected the morale of the West Sea Dragon Race Army. After continuous losses, the West Sea Dragon Race Army was filled with a pessimistic mood. While Jiu Fei was blocking the West Sea Dragon Race Army, the Sorcerer race was also mobilizing their troops. The situation seemed to be developing in a good direction. However, a piece of news spread and shook the entire South China.